batusisinkanye mu makago bwa President NTV tutegeezeddwa nga bwe baagala Ssaabaminisita Amama Mbabazi agibweko ekifo ky'obwa Ssaabawandiisi bw'ekibiina. Ensonda zitegeezezza nga President Museveni bw'aleese obujulizi obw'amaloboozi nga bulaga nti Mbabazi abadde aliko engeri gye yabuluzaamu ekibiina. Ensonda zitegeezezza era bwe tujjidde ku mpewo nga bwe waliwo ekiteeso ekireeteddwa okujja Mbabazi ku bwa Ssaabawandiisi bw'ekibiina nga babaka bali mu kukikubaganyako birowoozo oluvannyuma balonde.
Kitegerese nga ababaka ba NRM abayingidde olunaku olwokubiri nga bateesa mu makago bwa President Ntebe bwe baagala Ssaabaminisita Amama Mbabazi agibweko ekifo ky'obwa Ssaabawandiisi bw'ekibiina. Bano we tujjidde ku mpewo nga waliko n'ekiteeso kye baleese ku nsonga eno era nga kati kye bakubaganyako ebirowoozo. Ensonda n'ekusufu eziri mu lukiiko luno zitegeezezza nti ensonga eno yateeseddwako olunaku lw'eggulo kyokka n'etamalirizibwa bulungi. Mbabazi bwe yasabye ave mu lukiiko luno ng'aliko ensonga z'alina okumaliriza eka. Olwayo olukiiko lutandikiddeyo lwakomye eggulo era ensonda zitegeezza nti President Museveni azze ne fayiro eziwera eziraga nti Mbabazi aliko engeri gy'abadde ayawulayawula mu kibiina. Ensonda zigamba nti waliwo ne kaweefube abadde akolebwa Mbabazi okukunga abavubuka abanaamuwagira nga yeesimbyewo ku bwa Pulezidenti. Kigambibwa nti Mbabazi wabula yeerwanyeeko n'ategeeza nti embeera ebadde mulagibwa Pulezidenti ng'etegeeza nga bwamuteekateeka okumuddira mu bigere. Kyokka agambye nti talina nteekateeka yonna yakwesimba okuvuganya ku bwa Pulezidenti mu kiseera kino nga Museveni akyegwanyiza ekifo kino. Ensonda zitegeeza nti President Museveni alabudde bammemba ba NRM okwewala okuyuzaayuza mu kibiina. We tujjidde ku mpewo nga tekinnamanyika obanga ekiteeso ekireeteddwa okujja Mbabazi ku bwa Ssaabawandiisi kiyisiddwa.
Bo ababaka ku ludda oluwabula gavumenti olwaleero bakangudde ku ddoboozi ne balangira bannaabwe aba NRM okuzingamya emirimu gya Parliament. Kino kidiridde Parliament obutatuula olwaleero. Ababaka bwe basindikiddwa obubaka ku masimu nga bwe bategeeza nti kino kikoleddwa olw'ensonga eziteebereka. Wabula ababaka bagamba nti kino kikoleddwa olw'okuba bannaabwe aba NRM bali mu kusisinkana nga namba ebadde esigaddewo ebadde tisobozesa lukiiko kugenda mu maaso.
Tukooye okujja wano ne baadijaninga ne tubeera mu recessing emirimu giwedde twagala kubeera mu Parliament tukole emirimu nga Parliament yefudde organ endala.
There are a number of members of Parliament, especially members of the opposition, who are hanging around Parliament expecting to do work. They have incurred an expenditure coming here. But to their disappointment, they have been told, you are not going to work today.
Twagala tutuuse Speaker wa Parliament tukireete nga amendment abeere impartial. Kubanga olwaleero onalebo kadaaga onalebo jakubolanya ne baagala okuyita house bajja muvuma gwe tuli eno ate gw'oyita house.
Such an irresponsible SMS that due to unavoidable circumstance the meeting has been cancelled. What is unavoidable? The caucus is avoidable. Unavoidable circumstances like death of a head of state, hailstorm, earthquake, collapse of the building. But to send such a casual message that due to unavoidable circumstance, I think this is an abuse of taxpayers' money.
NTV akaongeze nga wakayita emyaka 20 bukyenkola ey'okuzza obuyinza mu gavumenti ezawansi oba decentralization etandikibwawo. Omubaka wa Mukono Municipal Betty Namboze Bakireke ayagala enkola eno ekyusibwe n'ekigendererwa ekyokendeeza ku namba ya zi district eyitiridde mu ggwanga. Namboze we twogerera amaze okuwaayo ekiwandiiko kye eri obukulembeze bw'oludda oluwabula gavumenti mu Parliament ng'agamba nti district ziremereddwa okutuukiriza ekigendererwa ky'enkola eno. Namboze ayagala district zituuke ku 6 mu kifo ky'ekikumi 12 eziriwo kati.
Mu kiwandiiko Namboze kyawadde olukiiko lw'abaminisita ab'oludda oluwabula gavumenti enkyaleero ku nkola ya decentralization, omubaka n'agamba nti ku zi district 12 eziriwo ensangi zino ku zo district 52 ze zisaana okuggibwawo olwasigayo district 6 zokka okwetoolola eggwanga.
N'olwekyo twagala kati okunoonyereza kutandike ensebuulirwe nti we tunaatuukira 2015 district tusigaze 6 n'abo abaagala okwesimbawo bakitegeere mangu.
Wabula singa okusaba kwa Namboze kunakkirizibwa olukiiko lwa ggwanga olukulu kitegeeza nti n'omuwendo gw'ababaka ba Parliament gwa kukendeera.
Kubanga buli woga district 52 ziveewo abo be babaka ba Parliament okusooka kwa byonna 52 baba bakendedde. olwo palamenti nayo twagala ekendere.
Namboza agamba nti akizudde nga zi disitulikiti eziwerako bwe zitalina ebyetaagisa bizisobozesa kuddukanya mirimu gyazo.
Ng'ey'entoloko ekolera ofiisi ziri wansi wa miti, tebalina ofiisi. Disitulikiti nga ey'Ennebbi terina na bakansala we batuula nga bateesa. Ate bwetuuka okutuuza kanso, bakansala babeetikka mu mmotoka ne bagenda batuula mwagago.
Ono era ayagala watondwewo kyayise provincial governments mu kifo kya federal nga kino kigendeddwamu okwewala obukubagano wa gavumenti eyawakati ko nezo ezikkiriza mu kwefuga ku lwazo.
Twagala baziyite provincial governments naye kyetutegeeza yenkola ya gavumenti za regions ezirina obuyinza n'amaanyi ne bagavana ab'ebitiibwa nga bwe kiri kati e Kenya.
Kinajjukira nti guno si gwe gunaaba omulundi ogusoose ng'amaloboozi ku kukendeeza omuwendo gwa zi disitulikiti guvaayo nga n'ogwasooka gwaliwo mu alipoota ya Kakensa Apollo Nsibambi eyafulumizibwa mu mwaka gwa 2008 ng'akakiiko ke yali akulira kategeeza nga mu kiseera ekyo disitulikiti ezali 79 bwe zaali zisaana okusalwako. Julius Senkandwa, NTV.
NTV akawungezi omusajja mu disitulikiti y'e Budaka agambibwa okusendasenda eyali muganzi we ne baddiŋŋana ate oluvannyuma n'amwefuulira n'amutta anoonyezebwa. Ababiri bano baasembyeyo okulabwako bombi nga bali mu mukwano omuzibu kyokka bugenza okukya abatuuze ne bagwa ku mulambo gw'omukazi y'omu. Omusajja ye yadduse dda era awenjezebwa. Songa yo Emityana omulambo gw'omutuuze aludde ng'anoonyezebwa guzuuliddwa mu nnyumba nga gwavunda dda.
Abaali abafumbo ne baawukana aboogerwako babadde n'abaana babiri era ng'omukyala abadde ajja n'alaba ku baana be ng'omusajja yawasa omukyala omulala. Bwe gutyo bwe gwabadde n'olunaku lw'eggulo kyokka nga ku luno babadde beeyisa nga abaddiŋŋanye era nga baalabiddwako mu kirabo bombi nga gubasaza mu kabo. Kyokka abatuuze kyabaweddeko bwe baagudde ku mulambo gw'omukazi nga yatugiddwa n'asuulibwa mu nsiko.
Nabifunye essaawa nga ssaawa 2 ez'ekiro nti yanga amaze okuta omukazi we nti amuutidde sayidi wa Kategere mu akati bakayita Jambula.
Twagezezaako okukola nga amateeka we gali okunoonyereza waawali ne tunoonyako wano nawali yanga tiyalabise.
Abooludda lw'omukyala nabo kwe kuva mu mbeera ne bookya amaka g'omusajja n'okwonoona ebyawaka byonna. Poliisi bw'etyo eyungudde abawanvu n'abampi okukuuma emirembe. Yo Emityana ku kyalo Gayaza abaayo bawuniikiridde bwe bakizudde nti munnaabwe gwe babadde baludde nga beebuuza yali yafiira mu nnyumba.
Engeri gy'abadde abeera yekka mu nju tuluddewo kitegeera nti yafa yabigenda mutuuka nga yenna avunze nga n'atera n'okuggwa ku magumba.
Ono balirwana bamutegeredde ku kivundu era olugudde oluggi nga ku munnaabwe kwe bakuba amaaso.
Minisita wa Kampala Frank Tumwebaze leero lwasubirwa okufulumya amannya g'abanaatuula ku bukiiko bwa KCCA obw'enjawulo obunakola emirimu. Kyokka mu lukiiko lwayise enkya leero omutakkiriziddwa bannamawulire kitegeerekese nga wabaddewo okusika omuguwa ku ky'okuddira bakansala ab'ekikugu abalondebwa gye bavuddeko be baba bakulira obukiiko buno. Dean Lubowa Sava kaalabe ebisingawo.
Olwaleero Minisita Frank Tumwebaze yakedde kusisinkana bakansala ba KCCA wamu n'abakulira ekitongole ekikugu okubayitiramu mu ntambuza y'emirimu mu kiseera kino ng'entebe ya Lord Mayor ekyaliko okusika omuguwa. Bano basoose mu kafuba kagobeddwamu abamawulire naye ng'ensonda zitutegeezezza nti mubaddemu okusika omuguwa ng'abamu bawakanya ekyokulonda bakansala bapya okulira obukiiko buno ate ng'abalala baagala omumyuka wa Lord Mayor Sulaiman Kidandala akakasibwa agire ng'akola emirimu. Kyokka Minisita Tumwebaze abategeezezza nti agenda kufulumya amannya olwaleero agaba abanaakulira obukiiko buno.
Bagenda kukola groups zibayita working groups babeere batuula balabe reports za management balabe budget balabe ebiragiro authority byena kuyisa babindeetere mbiteekeko emikono.
Minisita oluvannyuma atutegeezezza nti ng'ayita mu buyinza obumuweebwa ayagala obukiiko obwalonze bukole era nga yalina okubuwa ebiragiro.
Etteeka liweereza minisita obuyinza kukola emirimu authority gyetakoze.
wabula waliwo bakansera bamwe abazizza olukiiko luno nga bagamba nti minisita abadde alina kubasisinkanira mu KCCA so si mu ofiisi ye kyokka era abalala bakkiriziganyiza naye.
Alina ne ofiisi ye wano gye baamuwanga minisita wa Kampala nga eriko ne boardroom asobola okumalira ensonga za KCCA. Ffe tuli ba RDC nti alina tuyita eri mu ministry ye nga gy'aba akulira endala ya presidency.
Bw'obanga wasobola okubeera nti otuuza olukiiko olwagoba Lord Mayor nga walutuuza mu chamber tewalutuuza mu State House, kati ate ebintu ebigenda okutambuzibwa mu council lwaki ate obitwala mu State House?
Ensonga za KCCA mu kiseera kino zikyalimu obugulumbo olw'omusango gwa Lord Mayor gwe yatwala mu kkooti. Deni Lubowa Sava, NTV Akawungezi.
Mu mawulire amalala abasuubuzi mu ttawuni y'e Busia mu katale kati ge bakaaba ge bakomba oluvannyuma lw'omuliro okwokya ebyamaguzi byabwe ku makya ga leero mu katale akamanyiddwa nga Sophia Border. Era mu buufu bwe bumu omuliro gutannategeerekeka kwe guvudde gukutte essomero erimanyiddwa nga Williams Hill Day and Boarding Primary e Masaka era ebintu ebisinga ebiri mu bukadde ne bisiriira.
Omuliro guno gwabaluseewo ku ssaawa ng'emu y'akawungezi wabula ng'ekyaviiriddeko omuliro tekinnamanyika. Ebintu nkumi omwo abadde amatoke n'emmere endala ebyayidde.
Ebyafu byayidde byonna tuli mazike tukaava nga nze ayogera n'abaana 10 mu nju bamulekwa sinaako wadde muntu anyamba.
Abatuuze bateebereza nti omuliro guno gwandiba gwavudde ku sigiri eyalekeddwa mu katale ekiro ng'eyaka.
Abakyala abakolera mu katale kano abasinga obungi ku bantu 10 abantu 8 essente bazijja mu finka.
Wabula abamu bagamba nti obugayaavu busukiridde mu katale kano.
Gezezaako nnyo okukubiriza abasuubuzi bannange nga bagamba ebintu ebikwataganye n'omuliro naye abamu balowooza nti nze mbalemesa.
Era mu buufu bwe bumu omuliro gwokeza essomero e Masaka ebintu by'abayizi ebiri mu bukadde ne biggweera mu muliro. Muno mwabaddemu emifaliso ne keesi z'abayizi.
Ngenza okudda okutuuka ali mu Kasonda nga sinatuuka wenjoleza ngenza okulengera omuliro wali mu Kasonda wali mu Kasonda.
Mbadde njagala genda kufuusa nga metu alikoza kakali metu nakubendu omuliro nenasi navaayo ngenza okulaba nga omukka mungi mu ddomu fene tuddukamu.
Poliisi ezikiza omuliro weetukkidde ku ssomero lino ng'ebintu by'abayizi biweddewo.
NTV Akawungezi tubasaasidde nnyo bannaffe eruddeeyo. Bannasingo balaze Katikkiro wa Buganda Charles Peter Mayiga essanyu bwe bagenze okubatikkula ettaffaali ly'Amasiro. Katikkiro akalatidde abeeno okuweerera abaana n'okukola ennyo kubanga bino bye bijja okuyamba Buganda okuyitimuka. E Kakindu Katikkiro akuŋŋaanyizaawo ettaffaali lya bukadde 41 oluvannyuma ne yeeyongerayo mu ggombolola y'e Maanyi.
Kakindu awamu avuddemu miliyoni 41,700.
Abaana bano mubagulire ekyemisana muve mu byekyeje ebyo byempulira. Abaana mubagulire ekyemisana. Abaana timuzaalira ggwanga. Tosobolaga nti abaana twabawaayo gavumenti ebaweerera. Gavumenti yezaala abaana. Mu ddwaliro lyawo gavumenti gye yabazaalira.
Katikkiro abadde mu bitundu by'essingo. Yo gavumenti efunye ettaka kwegenda okusenza abantu abagenda okuggyibwa ku ttaka wegenda okuzimba eddongooserezo ly'amafuta. Ettaka eriweza yiika 500 lisangibwa mu ggombolola y'e Buseruka okumpi n'awagenda okuzimbibwa eddongooserezo ly'amafuta mu disitulikiti y'e Hoima. Amaka 9 okuli abakadde n'abo abakkiriza okusengulwa bagenda kuzimbibwa amayumba ag'omulembe Jingo Francis ensonga eno yazze agigoberera.
Musajja mukulu ono Pio awangalidde ku ttaka lino okumala ebbanga ddene y'omu ku bantu akasanvu abagenda okusengulwa era nga wetwogerera amaka 300 bamaze okufuna ssente zaabwe. Kampuni ya Strategic Friends International yaweebwa obuvunaanyizibwa obw'okusasula abantu bano.
Bampa ssente najja wano kugula ettaka ningula poloti yange kati nzimbirawo wano.
Mimi nasema asante kwa refinery.
Kyasalibwawo nti abakadde ng'Opio babasengule era babazimbira amayumba mu kifo ky'okuweebwa ssente eziyinza okuggwawo nga tebalina kye bakozeemu. Wabula bano nabo baagala baweebwe ssente.
That for him he opted for compensation. He don't want to be relocated. He don't care after those good houses.
Kubanga twateekako abazeeyi abamu ndowooza olabye abamu bagamba nti tebagala relocation bagala cash naye we saw them as vulnerable tugamba nabona tukole ki tubasengule.
Opio n'abalala emyaka gyabwe gyonna bagimaze nga basula mu nnyumba za ssubi era ng'okubazimbira amayumba ag'omulembe kyakukyusa obulamu bwabwe.
Ne ettaka lino tulaba nti liyinza kubeera ettaka lirungi.
Amayumba gagenda kuzimbibwa ku ttaka eriweza yiika 5 erisangibwa mu ggombolola y'e Buseruka okumpi ne wagenda okuzimbibwa eddongosero ly'amafuta mu disitulikiti y'e Hoima era gasuubirwa okumalawo obukadde obusoba mu 10 buli nnyumba.
Tugenda kuteekako amayumba oli bw'abanga abalina eka 10 ez'ettaka tugenda kumuwa still eka 10 tumuzimbire n'ennyumba.
Jingo Francis, NTV akawungezi.
Webale nnyo Jingo Francis. Eddakiika ziri 16 eziyise ku ssaawa emu tugenda kuwummula mu katono nnyo tovaawo katufune obubaka tulina ekitundu ekyokubiri. Ekimayuge bbeeyi y'amata erinnye amazzi n'omuddo byakekwa. Emirimu abakyala gye bajjumbidde sisinkana mmere Nabuuma eyenyumiriza mu bwa kondakita bwa taxi.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
Invited to your wedding by your fiancé.
Victor told you.
Was it a secret? My goodness, I'm really clumsy.
You're asking an honest woman to find a husband. Never. Never, you hear me?
I don't know what kind of scheme you're running here, but I'm gonna find out before you take over my grandma's land.
You're very ungrateful, aren't you, you fool? My dad is being reasonable with you, and that's how
Your
you
dad
repay
is taking
him?
away my grandma's land even before her body starts to decay.
Destiny River.
Okyali ku NTV akawungezi mu disitulikiti y'e Mayuge agavaayo gakyeyayi kyongedde okukosa beeyo ng'ebbeeyi y'amata erinnye ebirime bingi bikaze era nga bano ge bakaaba ge bakomba.
Kyafuuka kya bulijjo embuzi okugabana n'abantu ku mazzi agakozesebwa waka. Ono naye ente ze atera kuzitwala ku nayikondo n'azisundira amazzi. embeera eri bweti kubanga ebiriba byonna bikaze.
So kati tuzira kunwe sante n'ekyo byolubona bukufaana butumpaka tuzira kulikiza.
Ate ne ku nnayikondo gye baganoonyeza si birungi. Ennyiriri mpanvu ate ng'amazzi matono ddala.
Anayikondo kaife kashaluweero kalimu ebidomolo nga 10 ayi kano esemirukooti 2 kula okusaa 10 endala eddencu twasiba okusaawa 3 eddencu nga gaweiremu twayigula okusaawa 7 twasiba 8 ngera gaweiremu kale twayigulawo 12.
Ebirime ebisinga byakonera mu ttaka nga kwotadde ebiwuka okubirya.
Embooli de twesigayimeku kuba abalimi bange baali bakoze ekyamaanyi baalima embooli kuva mu gwe 10 babaye bali kulima embooli nga diriwo.
Ekizibu kyekyeya kivudde ku musana ogwako obutasalako era nga gye buvuddeko abakugu mu by'obutonde bategeeza nti okwonoona obutonde bw'ensi kye kivuddeko obuzibu.
Tulimye ebikaado bingi. So ebikaado aba ekikaado twabaawo muti osobola kusingulawo muti mewasimbawo ekikaado. Ebo olingira ekyo nga buli kukibona kidde ebikaado byerere.
Gavumenti nti okwerinda ebyeya bino ebirikosa ina abalunze n'abalimi. Ngama Yuga district bweri nti eri kumbala madenanda edisero kukala ino n'amaadhi water sources ntono. Evueyo n'enteekateeka eyindi esobola okufunisa ebitundu eby'amaadhi nga naddala amaadhi ag'emidumo.
Tuli kusaba gavumenti esitukiremu kuba emmere eno ye tulima kweyaffe ey'okulya twalima ku n'ey'okuliisa abantu ab'omu bibuga Basalenga na Kalama twaliisa Iganga oveni Kampala era esituka yakola ki byajjayo. Bona abantu bajja kufa ndala.
Ne mu district endala mu bitundu by'eggwanga ebisinga embeera y'akasana pereketya nga singa enkuba tejja mangu ekyeya kyandirumba eggwanga lyonna.
Tugenda kuba tubatuusaako n'ebitundu ebirala ebikoseddwa ennyo akasana pereketya akolekedde okuteeka eggwanga mu kyeya. Omulimu gw'obwakondakita gumanyiddwa nnyo eri abasajja era nga abakazi abagujjumbira abamu balowooza nti bannakawanga. Kino nno si bwe kiri eri Mmire Nabuuma agamba nti gumuyambye nnyo mu bulamu bwe. Okuva olwaleero okutuusa nga 8 omwezi guno ensi yonna lwegenda okukuza olunaku lw'abakyala tugenda kukutuusaako abakazi abenyigidde mu mirimu egitwalibwa nga egy'ekisajja.
Mmire Nabuuma ow'emyaka 34 bw'omusanga wano mu paaka ya takisi enkadde oyinza okulowooza y'omu ku abo abakola emirimu emirala ng'abatunda ebintu oba ebyokulya wano mu paaka. Okutuusa ng'atandise okuyita abasaabaze olwo kitegeera nti Nabuuma akola mu takisi oba okusika ekijji ng'abangi bwe baguyita. Nabuuma mukyala muzadde alina abaana 4. Yayawukana nebba emyaka 2 emabega ekyamwaliza okunoonya ekyokukola asobole okweyimirizaawo n'okulabirira abaana be.
Nali mbeera nakawa mu katale nga nfumba woteeri naye kale nga bankozesa bukozesa. Kati mwanyinaze najja na wa maama nambuuza olunaku ofuna ssente mmeka ne munnyonnyola tuba tukoze olusi bampa 3 oba 5. Kati nangamba ssente z'ofuna ntono nnyo jangu tugende bw'oba osobola okukola mu takisi. Jakufunangayo emitwalo 2 oba 1.5. Kati nagenda okibala mu woteeri nga nfuna 15,000 ate nga nnyuka kiro. Nensalawo nenzija mu takisi.
Kati amaze omwaka mulamba ng'asika ekijji. Ajjukira olunaku lwasooka okutuula mu mmotoka nga kondakita.
Nali neetya nga mpulira ensonyi nga mpulira bubi nga ngamba ye Mukama Katonda oba buli kyanenfuna omulimu ogwange n'embeera ne ssente.
Bwe buvaako eddiba ava awaka ku ssanga 12 ez'okumakya ate n'addayo ssaawa nga 4 ez'ekiro. Muto we yalabirira awaka. Buli lunaku bavuga luutu nga 5 oba 6. Bw'aba ayita abantu ku luguudo bangi era basamaalirira.
Abamu baseka. Bamanyi Bannayuganda mulimu abalina amaalo kanga Bannayuganda tulina amaalo oli n'akiraba ng'alaba kyanjawulo nnyo.
Nga bwe bagamba nti omweyogereze takusuuza kayanziko, Nabuuma agamba eby'okumusekerera tebimujja ku mulamwa. omulimu gwe agwenyumirizaamu.
Kale kyengwagalako daily income, tosiiba tosula, abaana balabirira bulungi, kyebaagala bakusaba nonga sente weeziri ozibawa.
Ogutateganya teguzza nvuma, oluusi waliwo ebitagenda bulungi.
Basaabaze abo bankaluubirira nnyo, yinza obbagamba mumpeereze sente, n'asooka asirika n'akutunulira n'agaana okuwa sente, oba kale ng'ali wala n'omubuuza ogenda naddala abakazi banyooma.
Omugoba wa mmotoka eno omukyalo ono mwakolera agamba yasalawo okukola naye olw'okuba muntu mulamu ate nga mwesigwa.
Akoze nga kondakita awala bw'alina okukola mu mulimu guno lwakuba obuzibu bw'alinamu obutonotono bw'abasaabaze okumunyooma.
Abasajja bamutawaanya engeri gy'alina akabina, omuntu oyagala alinnya takisi ate asooka mutunulira ate.
Yadde nga yali teyeegomanga okukola mu takisi, agamba akakisa bwe kajja yasalawo akakozese.
Kale famire yaffe yo nkozi ya mu takisi, kubanga muzeeyi atuzaala yafa, yasooka be basookawo stage eno, kati ne bannyinaze abasinga kumpi baliwo nga 5.
Alina byafunye mu mulimu guno.
Mpeereddemu abaana bange, nalinga nsula wa maama olwatandika takisi nenfuna sente netandika okwepangisirizeewo. Nali nfunyemu nga nguze ne poloti eyo ku ttaka lya Kabaka, naye oluvannyuma gavumenti neegira ne bayingirawo poloti n'engyesonyiwa.
Atufisiriza wakadde n'atutwalako ennakawa gy'apangisa. Ye, abaana be ne muto we wano we babeera. Abaana ba Nabuuma tebamanyi mulimu gwakola, ate naye agamba teyandiyagadde bamanye mu kiseera kino.
N'abakazi balekerawo okunyooma emirimu, ate bajje mu bwa kondakita abakazi baweze mwetuli bangi.
Mu kaseera kano agamba agenda ayiga okuvuga emmotoka era nga yeegomba nnyo okutuuka ku bwaddereeva.
Omulimu gw'obwa kondakita abasinga obungi tugumanyi ng'omulimu ogw'abaami. Wabula Mire omu ku bakyala abatono ennyo abavuddeyo ne beenyigira mu mulimu guno nga kyagezaako okulaga nti omukyala yenna singa aba anoonya okweyimirizaawo asobola okukola omulimu gwonna. Gertrude Tumusime Witware, NTV.
Webale nnyo Gertrude. N'enkya tujja kutuusaako omukyalo omulala alafuubana okweyimirizaawo ne famire ye. Mu kaseera kano katulabe akatale k'ensimbi nga bwe kayimiridde mu Kampala. Akatale k'ensimbi kakutuusibwako
Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you. Medical insurance. When your health takes an unexpected turn, our medical insurance policy will cover your medical expenses. Let's worry about the bills. Insurance Company of East Africa, ICEA, standing by you.
Bwe tukomawo linda olaba olutalo lw'ebigambo wakati wa Ronald Mugula ne Moses Golola nga beetegekera okulutunka ku Lwokutaano lwa wiiki eno. Tobaawo. Mu mizannyo abazannyi b'ensambagere Moses Golola ne munne Ronald Mugula batandise okuwumbawumba okutendekebwa kwabwe nga beetegekera okumeggana ku Lwokutaano lwa Ssabbiiti eno wali ku Freedom City e Namasuba. Mugula okutendekebwa kwe yakoledde ku Zion Hotel mu Kampala, so nga ate ye Golola atendekeddwa e Bwaise ewa Zebra Ssenyange. Sampoza abamegganyi bombi ayogeddeko nabo.
Ng'ebula ennaku mbale Golola Moses atunke ne Mugula Ronald mu mpaka z'ensambagere ez'okwemala eggayaŋŋano. Abamegganyi bano buli omu ategeezezza nga bwe yeetegese obulungi nga kati balinze essaawa yokka. Mugula atendekerwa ku Zion Hotel wano mu Kampala okumpi n'akatale ka Kiseka agamba nti olunaku lw'enkya lwasembayo okutendekebwa olwalindirira eggolola gwagamba nti wakumuyiza akalinda minyira.
Njagala ntagitinge ku nnyindo y'eggolola eyo kubanga yakulukuta eringa mukoka, njagala ngikube ngiteeke mu shape. Siri mwangu nange nga bwagamba nti ale seminti, njagala mukube enjuma yange tennaggwa, njagala seminti eyo gwali yange nemaliza enju yange.
Wabula ggolola atendekerwa Zebra Ssenyange mu Bugalani zooni Bwayisi oluwulidde bino n'ategeeza nga mugola bwe yeesimidde entaana ng'akyali mulamu.
Omanyi abantu baŋŋamba ggolola tuyambe otukubira omugwira ono, njagala mukube nze nkoze training era ndi ggolola omukalirire kati ndi wano mu Bwayise baaba Bwayise mukitegeera tuli wano baaba nze genda kumulaga ate wano mpulira wawunyawo olugulagula.
Ebintu bya ggolola tebinniraliikiza kubanga kyayogera kuba bantu bamukuba bukubi. Era olunaku lwaleero singa nnyamba nanga nti agenda kumukuba kitegeeza ngenda mukuba. Nze ndi musomesa era ngenda mugunjula. Byalina nzira byemuyigiriza n'esaabimalaayo kubanga nange siri musiru namanya nti ajja kunneesimbamu. Ngenda mukupesa obukodyo bwatalabangako era nga ggolola afune bwe yeekwata kuba agenda kugwa.
Omutendesi wa ggolola Zebra Ssenyange ategeezezza ng'omulwanyi we kati bweyongedde okubanguka mu bukodyo bw'eŋŋoomi okusingako nga bw'abadde mu biseera eby'emabega.
Ggolola luli kyabadde alina amaanyi naye nga bantu bamwongeza mukubisa mayinja bamutemesa mbazzi ate ng'amaanyi olwedde agayina. Wiponi ya ggolola maanyi kakati ggolola mukozeseza speed ne flexibility ne defense.
Ggolola ne Mugula bakuttunka ku Lwokutaano luno ku Freedom City Namasuba. Sam Mpoza, NTV Akawungeezi.
Asatu musatu zeziyise ku ssaawa emu munzikirize mbasibule tusinkane nate enkya nze Farida Mweraba.
NTV, turning on your world.
Program Guide.
Today's highlight with
New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
Wow, that was crazy. 2 hours in a French class and you still don't know how to introduce yourself.
If you think it's so easy, Mr. Know-It-All, then sit down and practice with me. Bienvenue to the class. Lucio Vampa.
Listen, Alejandro, I'm not scolding
Patricia, we're both married. Okay? You two, Ricardo, and me to your sister.
I know, and neither one of us is happy. There's a reason that we're lovers. Or were lovers because we haven't been together.
My mom always wants what's best for us. That's why she uses new geisha with extracts from nature. New geisha with extracts from Mother Nature.
And the change of government won't stop a thing. I've run out of fingers counting the number of multinationals setting up here. What about the 3 companies that announced their plans to launch last week? I say they shot me. Me, I'd be looking to sell. At what price? More. Much, much more. I don't know who you are or how you know these things, but one thing I'm sure of, you're in the wrong job. Here, call me tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. I'd like to hear more from you.
Are you ready for your big break? The East African, understanding the region.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Helping people, being kind, doing something new is my new agenda for the day. And that's how exactly I set up my days so that I stay vibrant the whole day. Coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop, my name is Brian Londo, and of course, a host of other fantastic people waiting on you. Simon Kasiate, Joel Senyonyi, Mabel Kebirunji, and of course, Ismail Dakaba Chigongo are all set to make sure that your day is gonna be awesome. But why don't we start it this Wednesday, the 5th of March 2014, with our question of the day. Good morning. There you go. Now today's question of the day is, list the line in the second stanza of the Uganda National Anthem. And just the other day was the National Anthem Day. So if you do that in the next couple of seconds, the first 5 respondents will walk away with a mag of Morning at NTV right here, with a very brilliant coffee that is prepared for me every morning. And of course, go to our Facebook page, Morning at NTV, and Twitter at Morning at NTV. Alternatively, you can send us the text to 6565. It almost feels like a Friday. I'm very excited. The energy levels are definitely up. Now, standing by at the NTV studios at the International Conference Center is Mabel Kebirunji with some of the stories that are making headlines. Good morning, Mabel.
Good morning, Brian, and indeed I think your excitement is contagious. I'm excited as well this Wednesday morning. Thank you for joining us on air and online, and these are some of the stories making headlines. Members of the NRM caucus draft a motion to move a vote of no confidence with the party Secretary General. Councillors boycott a meeting called by the Minister for Kampala, and police arrested data system administrator Chris Lubega on charges of abuse of office.
You're watching Morning at NTV.
Once described as super minister for holding several portfolios at the same time in government, NRM Secretary General, Prime Minister and leader of government business Amama Mbabazi is a man under fire. Members of parliament from within his party meeting at State House in NTV are drafting a motion to move a vote of no confidence in the party. Maurice Ochol reports the move comes after President Museveni presented what he described as intelligence information that showed a number of activities were done to undermine the party's cohesion.
Members of Parliament from the NRM party have set in motion the process to force the Prime Minister John Patrick Amama Mbabazi to relinquish his position as the party's Secretary General. Highly placed sources within the NRM party say Monday's meeting was postponed after Mbabazi said he had to attend to an urgent family matters. The meeting was then postponed, although it's alleged some members like Major General Kahindo Tafira wanted him to answer the queries. Now today, the meeting was a continuation of yesterday's meeting in which the president gave out documented and recorded evidence of what he called intelligence reports that was dividing the party. Highly placed sources that we spoke to stress that the presentation shared by the president to party members alleged that Mbabazi's wife, Canon Jacqueline Mbabazi, was organizing youth groups to support the Prime Minister for presidency. Jacqueline Mbabazi, who is also the national chairperson of Women's League and senior presidential advisor in charge of general duties, allegedly defended the move, saying her husband Mbabazi was mistreated in Chankwanzi. Another source revealed that at one point Mbabazi allegedly said he would stand for presidency if he wanted, especially now that there is a lot of speculation about his alleged interest in the presidency. But he also allegedly argued that he couldn't stand against the president because he still supports him. The president then went ahead to warn members on activities that undermine the party's unity. Mbabazi's alleged maneuvers appear could now lead to him facing the party's disciplinary committee as NRM MPs rally to pass a vote of no confidence in him. Maurice Ochol, NTV.
Police have arrested a data systems administrator, Chris Lubega, on charges of abuse of office, colluding to cause a financial loss and embezzlement of public funds. It is alleged that Lubega created a validation account for the interdicted former principal account, Geoffrey Kazinda, which he allegedly used to withdraw money to the tune of 17 billion shillings meant for various projects. It is alleged that Lubega, between January and July 2011, helped jailed former principal accountant in the office of the Prime Minister Geoffrey Kazinda to access a validation account without the approval of the Accountant General. In practice, it is the responsibility of the accounting officer to request the Accountant General to include a given person into the system to validate or approve payments for different votes. It is alleged that 17 billion shillings was mismanaged under unclear circumstances through payment of suppliers that included companies and fuel stations. Lubega is currently being held at the police's Special Investigations Unit in Chireka. And in Kampala, the KCCA politics have taken a new twist as councillors boycotted the meeting called by the Minister of Kampala, Frank Tumwebaze, to consult them on how they would conduct business in the absence of the Lord Mayor impeached November last year. A source who attended the closed-door meeting told NTV that they failed to agree on a key proposal by the Kampala minister, who had wanted to appoint the newly sworn-in professional councillors to head the working groups in the authority.
The Minister for Kampala, Frank Tumwebaze, met Kampala Capital City Authority councillors and the technical arm of the authority in the planned consultative meeting, where he had proposed to appoint working groups to carry out oversight functions of the political leaders.
So I have used my powers given by the law, Section 79, to direct and guide how the councillors can constitute themselves into working groups and oversee the work of management based on directorates.
But a section of some councillors boycotted the meeting after they learned that the venue for the meeting had changed to the presidency office and not the city hall chambers.
We have decided to boycott the meeting that was held in the office of the president. Not that we are disrespecting the minister, but just in principle. Because we all know that we're elected and we know when to convene our matters.
Now we don't know whether he was consulting the councillors and the management or he was directing. We don't know what he was doing.
Sources privy to the meeting indicate that the minister was scheduled to appoint the newly sworn-in professional councillors to head the working groups, yet the councillors were set to approve the deputy Lord Mayor as interim Lord Mayor. However, Tumwebaze told journalists that they had agreed to appoint working groups with a mandate to carry out roles on behalf of the political leaders.
I have power to veto what the authority has done and cancel it out if I feel it's inconsistent with the policies of government. So they will be considering reports, they will be looking at budgets, they will be looking at bylaws.
Tumwebaze reiterated that he had a constitutional mandate to appoint the working groups to carry out work under his supervision.
And we do hope that the story of Kampala will have an amicable solution. We now take you to a feature of a lady conductor, and let's take a look at this.
If you're a frequent user of Salama Road taxis at the old park in Kampala, you have probably bumped into this rather soft-spoken but aggressive lady. She is Millie Nabuma, a 34-year-old single mother of 4. When you first meet her, you might think she's one of those travelers, until she starts her business of calling out for passengers. Nabuma is a tout operating along Salama Road.
Nali mbeera nakawa mu katale nga nfumba hoteli naye kale nga bankozesa bukozesa.
I was employed in a restaurant at Nakawa, earning between 3,000 and 5,000. My brother called me to start working as a tout, where I would earn at least 15,000 a day. I made up my mind and joined this business.
Jakufunanga emitwalo 2 oba gumu kitundu. Kati nagenda okibala mu hoteli nga nfuna 15,000 ate nga nnyuka kiro. Nensalawo nenzija mu taxi.
She's been at this job for the past 1 year and vividly recalls her first day on the job.
Nali netya nga mpulira ensonyi.
I was so shy and uncomfortable. I wished I would own a business elsewhere.
The rather modest mother leaves home at 6 a.m. and returns at 10 p.m. She leaves her children under the watch of her younger sister. While on the road, Nabuma leaves no head unturned, as people by the roadside get mesmerized by the prospect of a female tout.
Some people laugh when they see me. Others behave like they have seen a strange thing.
Nabuma says she cares less about those who mock her and delights in her job.
I love my job because it gives me daily income. I cannot go without meals and I can fend for my family.
However, all cannot be a bed of roses. Sometimes she too gets challenges.
Passengers, especially women, give me hard time. Some do not want to pay, while others just laugh when I ask if they are traveling.
Nabuma's workmate Katongole Migasa speaks fondly of her.
Just like a male conductor, she works so well. The only challenge she gets are the passengers who give her hard time.
At the stage where she operates, Nabuma is the only female tout at the moment. Among her fellow taxi touts, her star shines so bright.
There are not so many women who do this kind of job. But Millie came out and is among those few ladies who braved and said, I will do this because I want to fend for my family.
This lady has never dreamt of being a tout. She, however, says when the chance came, she embraced it. She thinks the skill is in her family's genes.
My father was among the pioneers of this stage, while 5 of my brothers are in the taxi business.
After all, this lady boasts of some achievements.
I have managed to pay my children's fees. I'm renting. I had even bought a piece of land in Kasokoso, but when the land wrangle came in, I lost it.
Nauma spared some time and took us to her place where she currently rents in Nakawa.
Hey, Mommy!
Nauma, 3 of her children and a sister all share this small space.
Women should stop looking down on jobs.
Her next plan is to learn driving. She has already embarked on lessons and will hopefully be on the road soon. Gertrude Tumusime Witware, NTV.
A very inspirational story there of a woman who decided not to stay where she was and do a job that is shunned by many. As we celebrate International Women's Day, which is 8th March, which is this Saturday, we will have some special guests the rest of the week celebrating womanhood. And now we return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to Simon, Brian and Joel for the press review.
It's Wednesday, the 5th day of March 2014. Yes, coming to you from a different angling, but still at the rooftop of the Kampala Serena Hotel this morning at NTV's press review with myself, Simon Kasiate, Joel Senyonyi, and Brian Mulondo, looking at all the 3 newspapers that have hit the stands today: the Daily Monitor, the Red Pepper, and the Tri-Weekly Observer. We start off with the Daily Monitor. That's an interesting take on what's happening in the world of politics. Well, in the front page, a screaming headline, "I'm stuck," that's in inverted commas, with detained top spy. Let's recall that we have a one Major Muramaji who was arrested recently and is being held without being produced to any court by the army for reasons that are well explicitly laid down in this story if you get yourself a copy of the Daily Monitor. What do we have in other
something else here that I find interesting? I remember the person that came out and said Messages Aids stole my merchandise, an apparent vendor. It turns out he happens to be a policeman, so questions are being raised. Wait a minute, was this some internal kind of work? Police is trying to heavily crack down on this guy. Or could he actually be heading to, their police boss who has always been telling them, if you can't work in police, go and, I hear, Ray Amboga, go and vend Mputa and all these things. But
well, there you are, the Daily Monitor doing what it does very best, unmasking people who claim to be one thing and being another in actual life. Let's recall that sometime in 2005, the same newspaper unmasked people who came clad in police uniform at the High Court when they had the previous night being at the same premises of the High Court wearing those famous Black Mamba t-shirts. And that was the Monitor that unmasked those identities for you. Now the Daily Monitor is doing it again, getting a police officer clad in his uniform and juxtaposing that picture with a distressedly looking vendor-like person claiming to be a vendor when in actual sense they are police officers.
There's something here. The public is angry over Umeme's Yaka billing system. I had to ask Brian, you began to use Yaka system. Do you find it better?
I don't have it, and I don't think I want it. Yeah.
So how do you operate?
Because, well...
You have an equivalent of Yaka that you use. The mobile phone airtime that you buy and load on your phone is such that you load airtime and use it. Now, many a times you'll make a phone call and look at your balance
and possibly start asking questions as to why that phone call possibly cost a lot more than the previous phone call of similar duration. That is something you'll have to appreciate, that as you go forward, you buy and use, and that's what the whole system of Yaka is all about. Would you prefer to have umeme or people acting on behalf of women, knocking at your house every month to deliver a bill, knocking at your house every day to deliver a disconnection notice, or you want to manage your account at the palms of your hands?
I actually think Yaka may be a temporary solution to Umeme's, because I don't receive bills. I actually never.
So you're using power.
I've received
and the rest
Umeme
of us are
and
paying
Umeme bill once. The only time that I got that bill.
And how long have you been using electricity?
Do you
so Henry Rugambwa, there you are. We have a client in Brian Molondo who, for all the time he's used electricity, has not received a bill.
I beg Umeme to give me a bill. I beg them to give me a bill. Yaka is not going to be any different, I'm telling you.
Why do you think you would beg Umeme to
the technology is going to go against them. I don't think they have the facility to manage that.
What are you basing on to make that assertion, Brian?
Because I have people who use Yaka.
I use Yaka. I was one of the first Ugandans to use Yaka because it piloted in my district, which is Chitintale district, according to Umeme demarcations. And I can tell you from the time I got Yaka, personally,
what they've done?
I have reduced on the number of uncouth goons paying a visit to my house in my absence, as if claiming to drop bills. Disconnecting me, and I manage the electricity at the palm of my fingers. And when it runs out,
now you're a little bit more careful because you realize, hey, this is like airtime, so fridge off at times, iron once, etc.
Absolutely. So it gives you the control of your billing system in the palm of your hands, and also the convenience of failure to get disconnected and get inconvenienced. When you realize that you've run out of airtime.
What they've done at my home in Namgongo, they've put the wires. They've been up there like for 2 months now. And they never came back. They actually, this was the last nail. They dropped the huge wire in my compound.
So
and left it there for a week. And I had to call them and say, guys, you left this thing for a week. Are you ever going to connect? So they used my place as a store.
They can do that to a celebrity.
Interesting.
You had better give me 1 month free.
Interesting playing out in the game of politics in the NRM camp. Not playing out very much in the dailies except the red paper this morning, which has a screaming headline, "I will arrest you. Museveni tells Mbabazi." Now, for those of you who possibly are interested in following the political goings on in the NRM, the battle for 2016 took a dramatic twist last night. And that is a story that NTV will be bringing to you in our subsequent bulletins. But it is also playing out in today's red paper. What exactly is happening between Prime Minister Mbabazi and President Yoweri Museveni? There was a caucus meeting at State House yesterday, and the red paper is reporting exclusively and incisively now. There you are. Get yourself a copy of the red paper and check out what they are saying with regard to this political playout.
Mbabazi has always come out as the subservient one, the one who is very loyal. And I've said it here before that most probably he's going to eat the words he's come out to say, "I will be behind Mr. Museveni," and so on. It is a movie that we slowly but surely begin to see playing out. People are saying the pending reshuffle, President Museveni might drop him. Of course, there's two sides to it. He might drop him because he feels this guy has become a liability to me. But Museveni, being the sharp man he is, he might think if I drop this guy now, he'll begin to mobilize and he'll become a real threat, So probably let me drop him 6 months to the election or that kind of thing. But we are yet to see more.
Well, it's not President Museveni moving so fast at dropping Mbabazi. NRM MPs yesterday moved almost unanimously to have him booted as the party's Secretary General. And that's a story that's slowly developing. And of course, the political pundits will be discussing it even deeper when we get on the big story shortly after this press review.
What do you have in the Observer? Also, points to Museveni and Mbabazi, the exchange between the two, and the president presenting an audio intelligence evidence pinning Mbabazi and a detailed dossier. And last night, of course, NTV broke the story and waiting for the evidence. But Mbabazi is saying, yes, he admits what the wife is doing, I guess, helping
mobilizing
him.
And so on.
But accuses the president of mishandling this.
But there was an agreement when the president was appointing Prime Minister Mbabazi as Prime Minister then, that he should relinquish the position of Secretary General. There seemed to have been consensus around that. But seems like the president delayed on that, and he seems to be reaping his, whatever it is.
Does this give Amama the false idea that he wields so much power, so he needs more?
Brilliant question, Brian, but I'm afraid I'm not able to answer that question
He's
because
the
I
Prime
am not
Minister,
Honorable
he's also
Mama
the
Mbabazi.
Secretary General.
However,
So he's trying
let's
to be
get
careful.
down onto the issue further into the NRM camp. The ruling on the expelled rebel MPs, the 4 of them, you know them, the 4 musketeers, or should you call them the 4 NRM masqueraders, is set for Thursday. There was drama at the Supreme Court yesterday when one of the lead counsels, Justice George Kanyehamba, stormed out of court.
One. I tell you, I've always thought, for goodness sake, retired Honorable Justice Kanyehamba surely shouldn't have gotten into this case. I looked at it as him, you know, demeaning himself, as it were. I think he's a lot bigger than that. He's an old man.
No, unless, of course, you do not know Justice Kanyehamba, and with all due respect to him, this is a man who has consistently, over the years, has consistently shown a high propensity for pressing the self-destruction button. I do not see any much achievements on his clock as far as handling of his even public outbursts, his demeanor, his basic decorum. He's a man whose manners are a bit wanting. Or some people could argue he's too much of a bit of an uncouth Muchiga, quite not, you know, streamed well on.
Well, let's put it in a more charitable way. You could say he's passionate about the things he does. But you see, as far as this particular case is concerned, I thought, for goodness sake, they should have gotten other lawyers. He's too big, if you like, for this. And clearly it's beginning to eat him up.
Too big. Is he Makdusman Kabega? One waits to see. Well, let's talk some money. The central bank is maintaining the lending rate at 11.5%. So those of you who have been grappling with how to seek financial solutions from those banks that you love to visit, well, there you are. The lending rate remains at a good figure. Well, could have been a lot better, but let's recall that we've been in worse position. That's the story playing out for you in the Daily Monitor this morning. Back to electricity, where Brian has a few issues with the power distribution company. Now I will tell you that the Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited has earmarked some 320 billion Ugandan shillings to put across high voltage power lines across the country. So
yours is one of those. You say they dumped it in your compound?
No, that's not high voltage. We are talking about these high voltage power lines that distribute, that transmit electricity. So one of the reasons why you've seen the weird argument of we generate more electricity than Uganda can actually consume is that there has been an absence of the infrastructure. I know that. I just don't believe it, but I know that because I work in the power sector. The generating capacity of Uganda at the moment is over 845 megawatts. The consumption at the most peak, when we are all busy, you know, when everything is running, factories are up and running, and you are busy ironing, is about 500. So there is that deficit of 300. Why? Because there is not enough infrastructure to carry this electricity across the country.
How much do we sell?
To where?
To Rwanda.
We don't sell any electricity to Rwanda. I don't remember the last time we sold electricity.
We are no longer selling?
No, we don't sell electricity to Rwanda.
When did that stop?
We don't sell electricity to Kenya. Our lines are interconnected, yes, but for stability purposes. If anything, Rwanda produces more electricity than they can also consume. Now, let me tell you, there is an interesting bit that there is no power line between Kabada and Kisoro because of the terrain. So what happens is Kisoro's electricity is picked from the Rwandan side. So what Kisoro uses, Uganda gives it to them at Katuna Point. It's an interesting story. We'll need a whole talk show to discuss the power sector in Uganda. But one thing you should know for a fact.
Let me just read this quote here. I'm still in the business area. Somebody here was saying something. I recall as a young diplomatic officer in New York in the early 1970s, being advised as a senior colleague, by a senior colleague, not to develop an appetite for champagne on a beer income. I was admonished that living beyond one's means corrupts the soul and leads one to look beyond legal ways of earning money. You know, many times we have more math at the end of the salary. These people who buy things they don't need, using money they don't have to impress people who do not give a damn. We probably need to up our game in the way we do this.
There's more math at the end of the salary.
Well, let's look at the playings out in the capital of Uganda, Kampala. There's an interesting development. Let's recall that Kampala does not have a mayor as we speak, at least technically. And now, the Kampala Capital City Authority is living well without the mayor in their midst. There's a story in the Daily Monitor headlined, Minister plans KCCA without Lukwago. So there's everything going on, and KCCA is more like singing that interesting song that many of you love to listen to, Doing Just Fine Without You by the Boys to Men. That's a dedication maybe to Lukwago from the KCCA.
I've seen Lukwago, and some people think this guy, he does and says some of the most outlandish things. But Lukwago is a sharp man, and I think we've not seen the last of him. I don't know why, but we'll wait to see how this pans out. But the way he's being pushed out and trying to be gotten out of the picture, I don't know.
Pushed out, or he's already pushed out?
Well, he's still digging in his heels. Court seems to be behind him. You know, they keep playing the ping pong here and there. But wait and see how that pans out.
Well, now, have you been asking yourself as to why there is little depth in the level of argument or discussion that you have with fellow colleagues in this country? Well, it's not that Ugandans are daft by any measure, but simply because if you want to hide anything from a Ugandan, put it in a book. And the Daily Monitor has a headline Next magazine story talking about public libraries in Uganda in what they have termed a sad affair in the country. Do you remember the last time you visited a public library? Or should I ask you, do you know where any public library is?
I only know one public library.
You passed by it. Have you been inside?
Yes.
The one at Buganda Road?
Yes, that's the only one.
Does it have, is it stocked with books that meet today's challenges?
No. It still has
books of 19 Daniel.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Ugandans, the only book you read is Facebook. So
the only people that go to that library are people that are researching. That's the
and the people that are researching in this country are 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Why shouldn't all of us be able to research so that we are able to conduct our businesses with some level of knowledge and understanding?
Well, I guess it's the culture.
The culture is that we Ugandans
when we are growing up, we are basically brought up in an environment of writing exams all the time. So I have been subjected to exams my whole life. And when I get to the job where I have to read, it's a bit hard to adjust.
You talk about that, and you know, it asked me the other day, we were chatting about, you know, when coming to this place early morning, 5:30, you find kids, little kids, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, holding their hands, going to school, study the whole day, get back home at 6 p.m. with homework, this load, sleep at 10 p.m. And I'm thinking this absolute nonsense is killing our country. When do children get to be kids, for example? We are teaching them to pass exams. When they get out of there, they're very shallow. They do things in a very haphazard manner. We need to adjust.
A friend of mine tells me that her father gave her a book every month to read. And this girl reads, she's so knowledgeable about almost everything. But that's one father out of what, 30 fathers, who told her daughter, here is a book, write for me a summary. My wife too, the father did that.
So we should read beyond
she brought all these
beyond science.
For me to read, I'm like, Manuela, I think
if this is the requirement for you to accept my proposal,
then
Seeds of Gold this morning, a poll out that teaches you how to make money from the soil on which you stand. Well, the headline story there is reading Croilers, those are larger-than-life chickens that you love to devour ravenously. There is a homes pull-out, building and design. Home boundaries is what we're talking about in the Homes magazine. But of course, let's know that this homes pull-out gives you an indication of what your dream house should look like.
There's something I find interesting here in the Observer. Very angry people risk heart attacks. Should I say it again?
Well, in that case, I would have long died of heart attack.
Well, you're still a young man. Are you telling us?
Should I say I have seen many politicians who speak with a lot of anger. They have done this for the last 15 years and they are still alive and kicking.
But also, something that I also read yesterday, I'll talk about reading, that people who stay for a very long time in power,
spit it out,
gradually lose a sense of direction. And it's a medical, this was a medical examination.
But that's true, and not just power for anything. The longer you do it, yes, you master it, but you get to a point where now your ideas begin to shrink.
But it was amazing.
And you need to allow room for entry.
It was amazing that the reference in this research was Vladimir Putin and not any president.
Well, the question is, who was the author of this report? Was it the usual Americans running around their propaganda against Russia?
But they didn't quote,
but is
now
it not
that
true?
makes sense.
Let's get down to the issue of the red paper this morning. There is a woman there who's been arrested with 27 fake land titles. Now, the face of crime is moving away from an unshaven, bald-headed old man, possibly without any direction, to anybody amongst us.
An unshaven, bald-headed man. I'm trying to draw the picture, but yes.
The limitations of your imagination are well known, but let's say that the face of crime in this country is moving beyond just the traditional face of criminals to anybody amongst us. And the red paper, of course, has always profiled some of these bizarre, or some extent, macabre stories. And there is an interesting story, one of the many that the red paper always splashes in our faces, the AIDS cure. Now, they say one woman holds key to the HIV vaccine.
Absolute bollocks. We have had this again and again. People coming out to say, now drink this, now eat this soil, eat this grass. Poppycock, and Ugandans fall for this crap. I don't know why.
Someone should bring Agnes Nandutu to have a huge debate.
She has the cure?
With that woman.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we are. We've looked at the copies of the Daily Monitor, the Observer, and the Red Pepper that have hit the stands this morning. Get yourself a copy and get to find out more in the sports section, the business section, and of course, for those of you who are superstitious to that extent, the horoscopes are there for your enjoyment. Let's take a short break. When we return, it's the big story, and today, it's going to be big.
I can smell that liquor on your breath.
Because I've been drinking.
Let me tell you one thing. Will you shut your lips?
There is something you need to know about Chris.
I don't want him. Anyone near my baby. I don't want to see him.
You know what? Just save it. Save it.
Stop it. That's what happened. Doctor, I don't get what you're saying.
This woman is trouble. She's going to ruin my everything. I can't even trust myself around her.
Remember who the boss is here.
How can I forget? She's running after a married man and she's making me do all her dirty work.
I can't see you.
Oh, give me love, mama, give me love. Give me love like never before. 'Cause lately I've been craving more.
On the next episode of
say that Kishenko could upset Georgia up. Can Balrak cope with the low kicks?
Ashwin Barak and Daniel Geeta are having to kick off the event of edition 42. Daniel Geeta, who is not someone who you can take lightly.
I want to show something special because I'm something special.
I like it when people watching me, so I will be enjoying myself.
Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Follow the beat, follow the beat. Follow the beat. Follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat, follow the beat.
Follow the beat.
Aro, give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano, you think you've brought campasas. Omwana yena sobola gamba super deep. Si myaka jaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Kati mwagala mjimi mbili wana kuza kele chili chiaru chili okay wale tinsanyu fu weneka political tayakana nomuzanga nakajawa.
Kati nekambuza mukabete why are you crying? Nekagamba abasajja engeri gye bafulumiza mu lukwago.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji and Brian Molondo.
Thank you for joining us this Wednesday morning. We now return to the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop to Simon for the big story.
The big story this morning, like I promised you, those of you who are just joining us on Morning at NTV's Big Story. Yes, my name is Simon Kasiate, and this wonderful Wednesday morning, slightly overcast skies over Kampala, the 5th day of March 2014, we are discussing an interesting development within the NRM. Yes, reports coming in from State House indicate that the NRM caucus members last night moved a motion to impeach Secretary General Amama Mbabazi over abuse of office. Now, it's been extremely hot and shiny over the last couple of weeks, and today we see it turning to a rainy or overcast morning. Could it be from the results of what happened last night at State House? The superstitious ones will say, yes, of course. Now, highly placed sources within the NRM claim that the president presented documented and recorded evidence of what he called intelligence reports, and also alleged that Mbabazi's wife, Jacqueline Mbabazi, was organizing youth groups to support the Prime Minister for the presidency come 2016. Now, of course, the biggest players in all this are, without a doubt, the Prime Minister, Right Honorable Amama Mbabazi, and President Yoweri Museveni, perhaps the NRM Chief Whip. I have tried, but will be successful in getting them down here to discuss this developing story subsequently as it unfolds. But today we have an unlikely but very informed source of discussion. David Pulkol, good morning and welcome to this edition of Morning at NTV's Big Story.
Yeah, good morning, viewers, and thank you, Kasiate.
You will recall that David Pulkol is now a member of the Uganda People's Congress. But then, why do I invite him here to discuss this big development in the NRM? I'll give you a slight background with who David Pulkol is for those of you who are simply getting to the grips of understanding who my guest is this morning. Between 1987 to 1991, David Pulkol here was the Deputy Minister for Water and Mineral Development. He became Minister at 26. From 1991 to 1994, he was the Deputy Minister in the Ministry of Education and Sports. From 1994 to 1996, he was Minister of State for Karamoja Affairs. From there, he was put as the Director General in October of 1996 of the External Security Organization. Well, while there, he disagreed with the establishment over the raging war in the Democratic Republic of Congo and resigned to take up a position of Deputy Director in charge of East and Southern Africa at the UNICEF headquartered in Nairobi. In 2001, David Pulkol was wooed back into the fold by President Museveni, where he was, again, reappointed Director General of ESO. And this he served between 2001 to 2003. Remember, his brief in 2001 was to ensure that he trounces the biggest formidable challenge towards President Museveni's presidency, then retired Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye. This David Pulkol says he did successfully, but eventually fell out with President Museveni in around 2003. Why? Because there seems to be a move that David Pulkol was disagreeing with, and that was the move to remove presidential term limits, and allow for the life presidency that we seem to be enjoying in Uganda. David, you have been an insider par excellence in the happenings within the NRM or as a party. Well, you know about it, but you have also served with the movement, as it were, during the time of individual merit. So you know the workings in and out. Tell me, to what extent can we take these reports to be true that Prime Minister Mbabazi and to a large extent his dear wife, Jacqueline Mbabazi, have been creating certain camps within the NRM using party structures to vie for the presidency come 2016 and undermine the power of the president?
To what extent? To a large extent. I think citizens should take this very seriously, and to me, there's nothing wrong with it.
What's your source of information?
Oh, insiders within NRM. And one thing, having been a Director General for External Security or Intelligence in Uganda,
which
and
which
he was also, I succeeded. After Mbabazi served as Director General for External Security, came Otafire. And then from Otafire, he handed over to General Eli Tumine. Eli Tumine handed over to me. And then I handed over to General Kecho. And then again, General Kecho handed back to me. And then I handed over to the late Higa. So, external security, intelligence, organization, information just flows. It finds you where you are.
Share with us some of this information.
Of course,
to what extent has Mbabazi been creating camps?
Okay. The political, yes, I can share with you. But whatever is security and destabilize the security of the state, those are areas I will not go into. On political...
Oh, you still have your discipline? I thought you are now a loose cannon. You say whatever comes your way.
No, not at all. Because you signed an oath of secrecy.
That's for the time you are serving, not when you've left.
No.
Or disgraced as you have been.
Chief, they may try to disgrace me, but they will fail. Absolutely, they will fail. They've tried before. They will try it again. Even now, even as I speak here, they will try again. But they will fail. The point I'm making here, please, let me not really be distracted now. Let me come to this point. Is that there is no more doubt that Amama Mbabazi and President Museveni have had different camps, all of them. So the other one is accusing the other, but all of them are guilty of the same crime. Within NRM structures, within intelligence organizations of the country, within the People's Defense Forces, within the security architecture of our country. Because, I mean, really, you have supporters.
But David,
let me come back to this.
Just before to interrupt you, sorry, we've had Amama Mbabazi consistently saying that he is as loyal to President Museveni as the word loyal can describe. In fact, recently, at least in yesterday's press, he's quoted as saying he will not stand against President Museveni in 2016. This is not something he's ever mooted. He is 100% behind the president. Is he just, calling our bluff?
Well, he can say what he is under pressure, okay?
I like that.
And it's important to allow him that benefit of doubt. But all evidence, including the current arrests of youths, okay, of current dismissals of RDCs who are alleged to be close to him, and soon to come, dismissals of those cabinet ministers who are allied to him, and also soon to come, big shake-up within the security forces, within the intelligence, all the way witch-hunting those who are seen to be close. And it will not stop there. It will go to New Vision. It will go to UBC.
I am happy
to go to.
You preempted us because there is now a list of journalists who are earmarked as Mbabazi supporters.
To me, citizens must resist this, because what is Mbabazi's crime?
Expressing an interest.
Now, why should Kawesi say we are going to continue arresting those people who are from Mbabazi? When did supporting Mbabazi for presidency, for chairmanship of the party, become a police matter? Well, because the Uganda police is not NRM police.
Well, you have predicted...
These are not a people's militia. This is not a party militia.
I understand you, David, but you have gone ahead to give us a prediction of what is most likely to happen. And I would love to ask you again, around that premise, a hypothetical question. When that happens, what are the possible ramifications of the body politic in Uganda, more so the NRM, towards 2016?
Now, NRM is a fractured party. But first of all, is it a political party? I have worked with NRM. I joined in my prime years and put all my life, all my intellect, all my energies into it, only to discover it's not a political party.
What is it?
It is a military organization with political objectives.
Wait a minute.
It is when you look back with pride, or when you look back with hindsight,
that
you
is
begin
its
to
history,
see.
But that does not mean that's what it is
you
today.
You see the military at the center of decision making, at the center of its structures. That's why I'm not surprised that a youth in Teso called Mugalu is arrested by the DPC Soroti, brought out here, just a week ago and handed over to CMI. Although it's been released, phones taken, monitored and so forth, his financial account closed and so forth. So you begin to see that when does this become a police matter? When does it become a CMI matter?
But you worked for President Museveni for a long time.
Yeah.
And you know that for him, his number one preoccupation is how to retain the power that he has and govern this country.
Exactly.
And for those of you who are vying for this power, you must be able to put up what Newton in his third law of motion says, where there is an action, there must be an equal but opposite reaction. So at the end of the day, what will these two actions that are seeming to be antagonistic going to create for this country?
No, let's first, you see, this trial which seems to be against Mbabazi must be seen by citizens as not a trial against Mbabazi, but it's a trial against President Museveni and the NRM.
How?
Because to what extent is Museveni a Democrat? That within the 10 points program, point number 1 was democracy. Because now what Museveni did in 2001, I can look back with hindsight. Besigye wanted to vie for presidency. You know how he was dealt. Not even
among other people yourself.
Unfortunately,
you regret?
If are things that I regret, because you thought at the time was that, well, maybe rocking the boat. Okay, you should not rock the boat. Maybe at the time you say that the constitution has been made and it allows the president to run for another term
up to 2006.
And and we thought we'd respect him on that. And we thought that even if anybody did not like him, okay, what's 5 years? Give it to him, he will go away. And then the party will, the government will transit from Museveni to somebody unknown. So we thought we had an equal chance, as it was in the constitution, the supreme law of the land. But let me come back to this.
Wait a minute, David. Because now that I have you here, and that you regret the actions you meted unto Kizza Besigye in 2001, don't you think an apology is apt for him? That you used brute force against the guy who simply expressed, his desire to be president?
I only campaigned for President Museveni. I did not campaign for him. I did not use brute force. I was not a member at the time. I came back from UNICEF. I had not even taken up my position in external security. It was afterwards when I was put to external security to pull troops out of Congo, support the Burundi peace process and the Sudan peace process, which I delivered.
So you don't feel you take any responsibility of expunging this guy out of his country to exile?
If there were any people who harassed him, it was definitely the Mayombo, the late Mayombo outfit, the CMI and the internal security people. Otherwise, for me, I did not. I only campaigned for President Museveni on the understanding that once he goes through, he fixes whatever problems are there, and then he puts a transition in place. But mark you, that transition we thought would take place then is just beginning now. This challenge between Museveni and Amama is now, to me, signaling the real transition is starting now. And if Amama misses this point, Uganda will have missed an opportunity to break the monopoly of the family of Museveni or power. It now opens up for the son or the wife to become the next president.
Wait a minute,
Once
David.
this is
Are you
crushed,
saying that Mbabazi now should just, take the bull by the horn?
If I was him, not only Mbabazi, whether it is Kadaga, whether it is who within the NRM, I think Museveni must be stopped now.
You seem to be speaking with an oracle hindsight. Do you think, what chance do they hold?
Just in a few weeks, over Sudan, the guy is going to promote his son. He will be either Major General, Lieutenant General. He's going there.
I invited an analyst, not a seer, but I'm getting a seer out of the analyst.
No. Look, from the analysis, from the information, I can make projections. You can see this situation is becoming a curve. It's going a straight line. And when you make a prognosis in the next 6 months, what do you see? So I'm making technical guesses here. And I think which is part of an analyst's job. But what am I saying? I may be proved wrong, I must say, but from the scenarios that I have built, what is taking place now in State House, and that's why it is being attended with a lot of intensity. What's taking place in State House is that, yes, are there youth allied to Mbabazi? Yes. Are there youth allied to Museveni? Yes. Are there people in ISO who are allied to Mbabazi? Yes. Are there people who are allied in other organs? Yes. So are they being witch-hunted? Yes. Now,
so tell me,
why?
to what extent does Mbabazi pose a threat to Museveni or the NRM if he vies for the president? Do you think because many of you have always argued that Mbabazi is extremely aloof, he's disjointed from the grassroots, he does not have what it takes to be Suave on the Bonea on a rostrum. So why is all this playing out to a guy who you think doesn't have a chance of being president?
I think, let
me
pull myself back and say, Mbabazi, in as long as his intention for that big job was concealed and did not show, he climbed. He went higher and higher. He was
out of
a
merit.
DG. He was a minister for security, minister of state for foreign affairs. He was even briefly attorney general.
He actually held 3 ministerial portfolios at one time when he was
when President Museveni handed over finally, Museveni did not want anybody to be Minister of Defense except himself. When I was Deputy Minister for Education, Amanyam Sheikh was Assistant Minister for Defense. 86, 87, 89. Assistant Minister, not even a Deputy Minister. Now, by the time the President decided to appoint a full minister, he gave it to Mbabazi. And at that time, he gave his sister-in-law to be Hope Mwesige, to be a Minister of State for Parliamentary Affairs. He gave his wife. He gave his wife to be the CEO for Luero Industries, classified industries. So Mbabazi was in charge of defense, was in charge of classified industry, was in charge of parliament by extension. Now, he has climbed higher and higher.
And used that to leverage his
elbowing whoever would come out, he would elbow, so that he remains a clear successor to President Museveni. And I think he had arrived there. And he had arrived there.
Hence
and
the famous quotation of someone jumping the queue.
Now, that's why he thought there was a queue. Best just say there was no queue. But please, let's not miss this point. Let's do this with historical hindsight.
Yes.
Besigye comes up. Instead of taking Besigye to NEC or to Delegates Conference or National Council,
there was no such structures there.
Treated. There was of a movement. Yeah, they were. I was a member of NEC. So they were. And so what happened then was he rigged the process in favor of himself so that he goes to Delegates Conference unopposed. Again came 206. What did Museveni do? Those who wanted to contest against him, the Okotogongs and so forth, who people thought were jokers. But you saw again how Museveni went for elite consensus. Again in 2011, elite consensus, agreeing within themselves, allocating jobs. You, Amelia Mshembade, you be a treasurer, I become president, Amama Mbabasi to become a secretary. Now, Otafire refused, Bukenya refused, and who refused? Then Maguru, one little known Captain Maguru, decided to take them to court. Yes. So people went to Nambole just to vote for the Secretary General only because
the rest had already been rigged first.
Because Museveni is not a Democrat. So this thing is a trial against NRM. Because NRM, to what extent is NRM internal democracy functioning?
And now that you have broken ranks with the NRM and you are in the opposition, Uganda People's Congress, to what extent can the opposition in this country take advantage of this fragmentation within the NRM to wrest power away from them?
Unfortunately, who do you have in the opposition?
I thought your president, Olara Otunu.
A joker of all odds of time. Olara Otunu, who cannot even hold a delegates conference, cannot even hold a national council, cannot even fix problems within his own party.
You still have a party card of UPC?
Yeah, I am a member of UPC.
You will be fired
It's my mother party.
Show.
No, it's my mother party. Take me to the delegates conference, take me to the disciplinary committee. Nothing.
So you
like
are
that
saying that.
So I'm saying when you have jokers like Olara Otunu, whom you can see even from his outlook, the way he carries himself. I mean, you just look at them and say, look, you just see through.
But we have General Mudisha Muntu with whom you served in government.
If people like Olara Otunu, the real Olara Otunu shows up, maybe with the owner of that CV. But unfortunately, this one is too short. It doesn't measure.
Well, let's not get into trending insults here, but let's look at other opposition leaders. Norbert Mao, for example.
Norbert Mao.
General Muntu.
Imagine.
To what extent can the FDC...
The mayor is struggling and he's got a big following to oppose the dictatorship. And then you say he looks like a street child? Mao, come on, style up. That's when your party needs you most.
So for Ugandans watching you this morning, they need to take from Kulukolo this morning that the only change that will come to the leadership of this country will obviously come from within the NRM.
For now, given the way the others are organizing themselves or failing to organize themselves, okay? Now, any challenge from within has a great chance, okay? And therefore, the moderates within NRM should reach out to moderates within the opposition outside there, and we create a future of our country based on moderates, not on extremists in NRM, not extremists in opposition. So a future of Uganda, we all belong to Uganda. It's our country.
David,
but we cannot afford to be extremists. This country needs moderates to take it forward.
David, so you are a former executive
when I see extremism in our police, when I see extremism within our CMI, for example, when I see extremism
in ESO,
for example, you find today that even the pro-Mbabasi people in ISO, in CMI, are busy arresting Mbabasi people to cover their own Can you imagine?
Well, you are
Now,
a former
what crime-
executive
what crime-
chairman
what
of the
crime?
African Leadership Institute.
Listen,
I want to ask you one question.
what
You
crime?
asked that question already, but let me ask my question, David.
Yeah.
Let's play it from a hypothetical point of view.
Yeah.
The next cabinet reshuffle possibly could have Mambabasi dropped as prime minister to a position that he possibly will not take. I mean, I do not know. You are the guy who would possibly have an idea of where or this will play out. Do you see a situation where a dropped Amam Mbabazi therefore will galvanize his troops and lead this country into some kind of fight? We may not be in the bush, but a kind of fight that will destabilize us, like Southern Sudan is being destabilized over the firing of Mashal, for example?
Well, my prayer is to the two of them, okay? If they still have ears, if they can listen, that please, as you tussle your own differences within your political party, please don't go to the Kir Mashar school, okay? Please take lessons. Don't plunge the country because of your recklessness
Away from your prayers.
into chaos.
Away from your
That's my
prayer.
request.
Is this the end of Amama Babazi in your view?
No, not at all. Amama is a smart guy. I admire him. He's been a Director General of External Security Chief. And what he did, he has been a minister in many portfolios. He does his homework. The only thing people complain about is proud. But I mean,
one final question. If Amam Babazi's picture appeared on this ballot paper, there's President Museveni on that ballot paper, Olarotun on that ballot paper, Simon Kasiato on that ballot paper, General Muntu on that ballot paper, you, David Pulkol, who would you tick?
We'll cross the river when we reach there. But listen, Chief, the most important is if Ugandans do not halt President Museveni now,
how can they halt him?
Listen, Chief, by, for example, I've told you, the moderates in the movement, the moderates outside there, those who still love this country, needs to come out to each other and say enough is enough. And say whether Museveni wants it or not, sorry, but we have to give him something. What is that something in return? And I think that something should be, Muse, you've done your good job, go and rest. If I had a way, I could even buy Raktura from him and give it back to him. And I would even give him back the presidential jet and say, go and win investors for our country, even bring World Cup here. I would even give him and say, choose whom you want to go with to Museveni Foundation and we'll pay their salaries. But at least we will even say, because of the mistakes you made, I think let's all agree as citizens not to prosecute him. Okay, let him stay, because even those who will go in will end up making their mistakes.
Well,
for now, let us allow the country to move forward and move forward with peace and stability. So what am I saying? Watch this very carefully. This tension is real, and it is true that, but what is wrong in contesting for party leadership?
Wonderful question, and like you said, Ugandans must stop President Museveni. Well, I'm afraid I must stop you right there, and we take a short break. When we return, it's Simon Says.
Thank you very much.
David. Well, one day, it is said, is long enough in politics to see one extreme playing out from one end to another. The developments in the NRM are a telling of the interesting times yet to come as we prepare for the 2016 general election, if at all, because of course you've also had the rumors making the rounds that they possibly may not be an election then, because of the need to consolidate those electoral reforms that all from whichever part of the political divide are clamoring for. Now, the million-dollar question remains, like I always put it to you on Simon Says. The protagonists here are Mbabazi and President Museveni. There seems to be a downplayment of the presidential ambitions of the Right Honorable Speaker Kadaga and of former Vice President Gilbert Bukenya and many others within the NRM who possibly held those ambitions. Now that we have the two bulls, or should we say the two elephants fighting, how much will the grass stand to suffer? How much will the polarization of this party affect the running of politics or the running of this country for that matter? To what extent will a proper fallout between Mbabazi and Museveni have with regard to service delivery? Let's also admit that both men have been holding very important and vital pillars of the state. To what extent will all these be affected? Shall we have proper replacements? Or what will happen if Mbabazi, for example, broke ranks, vied for the presidency, and took it in 2016? These are questions we cannot answer today. Tomorrow, perhaps by the end of 2016. And I tell you with a promise that we'll continue following this story very closely for you, and tomorrow's big story will certainly be promised along these lines for us to get an understanding and not miss the chance to be part of this developing story as history seems to write itself before our eyes. With that, let's take a short break. We meet same time, same place tomorrow, but of course, Morning at NTV continues with more wonderful programming.
Baba, she should just take the program.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Vilagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not.
Blood?
Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
Marriage is tough, but you suck it up and you stick through the good times and the bad times. What kind of example are you setting for your sister who is about to walk down the aisle herself?
Shut up, Nandi. Seriously, you just keep poking and poking at other people's relationships. You're like a cancer.
Ati, I hope you're discussing fashion. Because you have everything under control, yes? And the only crisis you're going to have is you clashing with the red carpet.
We've met mystics. And that's what marriage is all about. Mystics and forgiveness. For better or for worse.
I'm sorry, but I've got to ask. Nothing happened between me and Usha.
Well, Lulu is not here, and if she comes, I'll tell her you picked the wrong person to mess with, Lucy.
I'm gonna blow your mind and I'm gonna twist your taste buds. The flavors are already coming together. I can feel them. Very lovely, very appetizing, very healthy. Remember, the way you see it, the way you like it, is the way you get it from my kitchen to your kitchen.
Running out of airtime can happen to anyone. The next time you recharge, simply dial *161# to get going again.
On the next episode of La Patrona.
It's over. I'm going to bring her back. Did you just say that you wanted another baby just to manipulate me and have sex? Is that it?
I am beyond bored. This marriage needs some excitement.
Well, if you're bored, go to the circus and leave me alone.
That's fine. Reject me, huh? But later don't complain.
Yo soy Luciano
No. Yo sono.
Tu sono.
No. Yo sono. You are.
Gaston, it's time now. Go and pave the way for me. You know what you need to do.
You got it, boss. From this point on, know that you've got my full support as well as that of Veronica Dantes for your campaign.
La Patrona.
At Orange, we know that running out of airtime can happen to anyone. That's why we bring you Wetase. Simply dial *161# to get going again. Convenience changes with Orange. Today changes with Orange.
The average age of the entire national team is under 18. And
the primary role of Team Uganda is to Division 2.
Probably that's the only thing that can make one or two rugby fans smile, that the Cubs are doing well.
The players haven't put on they haven't wore the game faces. They're not the animals we saw last season, because Ferguson had the same group of players and he did deliver the Holy Grail, which is the title.
You're watching Morning at NTV with Simon Kasiate, Mabel Kebirunji, and Brian Mulundo.
You 8 after 8, and before the break we had an interesting chat with David Pulkol, Simon Kasiate on the big story and some of your feedback. I'm glad Chris saying Mbabazi is free to contest and I have to vote for him. It's not NRM to decide for me. I wonder where democracy is disappearing to. And another comment, Sandy Nelson saying, let him hand over the office of the Secretary General because he has a lot of responsibilities to perform. Mabel will be also taking us through some of your Facebook messages on this issue, but it was awesome to hear from the former director of ESO, David Pulkol. And of course, later in the show, we also have another feature to talk about, something that concerns your children on everyday life. And using my HTC One Max, I'll head over to our Twitter comments, that is Morning at NTV. Of course, you can go there and follow us, and my handle is at MBGold2. Mabel is also at Mebkeb and at Kasiate and at Joel Senyonyi. And X-Power Volks at X-Power Volks saying lots of fire spitting this morning on at Morning at NTV. We also have a comment from at Kalexcam saying this show has made my heart lovely with pumps in a smooth way. Wow, that's a bit hard to visualize, but thank you so much. Our page is at Morning at NTV. Please head over there and like our page and tell us also what you think about this show and how to improve it. In a couple of minutes, I'll be coming up with Everyday Life. But before we go there, your traffic report coming up. You must have left home annoyed, or even at 5 o'clock, people speed a lot and you're thinking, where are they going? Or you're taking your children to school and you have a car TV, or you're stuck in your office, or you're just leaving office, or you're joining us online, youtube.com/NTVUganda. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now this morning on Traffic Report, let's just take a look at Chintu Road, where you see the traffic very steady, very slow. Macarena with his pancakes as usual. It's really the quickest shot we can get here. There's a bit of traffic there on Chintu Road opposite the Serena Hotel. And of course, make your way, maybe you're going to MTN Towers or Crested Towers or the Twin Towers, the presidential offices, or you're coming to Serena, or you're passing via Nakumat onto Ginger Road or going to Parliament. You can definitely use that road. It's very good. Now, some photos that came in from Morris in Budo. I know this Morris. What were you doing in Budo, Morris? Budo, and that was about 7:30 a.m. We also have another picture coming in from Chengera, and this was our own Julius Senkandwa, who is on his way to Masaka. Safe travels, Julius, but he sent us a picture of how Chengera looks. And of course, we have another picture that comes in from Salim in Bukoto. Right, and we have another picture coming in from Acacia. The other day we broke a story of a truck that fell at Acacia, and some of you were very appreciative because you had to use other roads. We have another picture coming in from Golf Course. Traffic is very steady. And of course, if you have any traffic picture, or you want to be a traffic reporter, please feel free to tag those pictures on Morning at NTV, our Facebook page at Morning at NTV. That's our Twitter handle. And you can WhatsApp that picture to 04716 Coming to you, Mabel at the NTV studios with some of your birthday wishes. Good morning.
And good morning. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday morning. We're still excited about the show. And moving on to some of your messages on Facebook. If you haven't yet liked our Facebook page, I do not know what you're waiting for. You can see a picture here of Simon and David Pulkol, whom he hosted earlier on The Big Show. Now to some of your messages, we have Paul saying, not at all, this is just the beginning of another episode. He is talking about the motion to impeach Secretary General Amama Mbabazi over abuse of office. Could this be the end of the road of the Prime Minister, was the question we asked earlier. Sander Nelson says, let him hand over the office of Secretary General, while Bruce Waswa says it is true that it could be his end. Huda says, definitely, I think they have no confidence in him regarding his loyalty in 2016. Zevanaya Wakibi says, what have they been waiting for? LOL. And Evelyn Karunji says, the ironies of life. Mugisha Jim, not at the end. This is not his end at all. That's politics to play on the minds of voters. In fact, they are selling an ideology to the nation. And to some other of your messages, we have here on Facebook, we have Junior who says, that's what's happening when children grow up at home and start fighting for their rights. That is happening inside NRM. Now we need prayers, because our action will never work with NRM, because it's a country itself. I see. Sengoba Samuel says, everything has a beginning and an end. NRM will finally split up. John Nkore says, this is the start of the death of Museveni politically. Amama should up his game even more. Musevenism should end. Patrick says, my best choice, NTV Uganda. Charles Lema says, what is wrong? Mbabazi standing for presidency? All we need is change. We are tired with, he puts the number 7. Isaac here saying, morning at NTV makes my morning before anything in my life. And Naturinda Gabriel says, you guys, I like your show. Please remind all Christians that today is Ash Wednesday. So if you are watching and you were wondering when Ash Wednesday actually is, it is today, the beginning of Lent, that will see us up to Easter. Shaban says, good morning, Mebo and Bran. Thanks for the service. Morning at NTV is so fresh, like PK. Oh, that's interesting there. Andrew says, politics is funny. What is happening in KCCA will end up creating a huge political figure. Hashtag Arias Lukwago. We will now return to Brian at the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop for the HTC moment.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect. How you browse, how you share, and how you interact with the world around you. Down to the last detail, you inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
It's 15 after 8, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel rooftop. Thank you so much for joining us, whether on your television at home, in the office, or in your shop, or online, youtube.com/NTV Uganda. We're very glad that we are helping you start a phenomenal day ahead. It's Wednesday, the 5th of March, 2014, and today's HTC moment is definitely powering everyday life. Now, I told you I'm taking long to figure out the HTC One Max, and on this show we're giving out the HTC Desire 300, and I discovered something yesterday on the HTC. All right, let me see. I discovered something called the blink feed, and if you have a smartphone, you'll know what applications are and widgets. Now you go to the widgets section and activate blink feed. What does the blink feed do? It's like your news feed. As those of you that are on Facebook, you have a news feed. The moment someone uploads their status, it comes on as soon as immediately. Now, this thing updates me on whatever is going on in the world. Even something that just happened a few seconds ago, it updates. Some of you who stalk me on Facebook, I get your updates as and when they happen because I have a live feed on this phone. Yesterday I told you I tried out using it as a TV remote. So at my house, I locked it. No one watches TV without me. because the remote is my phone. Phenomenal. HTC One Max. Go to the HTC Hub. I don't know if I think I'll give it to my guest after this. We'll see. We'll see. The guest must buy this phone. I think it's only 2 million shillings. But right now, I know that I'm getting the latest feed on what is going on in Ukraine, what is going on in basketball, soccer. It's 99 days to the World Cup, and I'm getting the latest on Mayweather against Maidana, the latest that is happening in the UK. It's all real time, flowing on my HTC One Max Blink feed. And that is your HTC moment today. Remember, you can also be a winner on this show. All you have to do is answer a few questions. Very simple, and you can be a winner. Let me just get these questions real quick. And they are also on our Facebook page, which is Morning at NTV. So you can go there and answer those questions. All right. The first question. Are you getting your pens ready? The first question that you'll have to answer, okay, I'm getting a little bit mixed up here. What is the unique function on the camera of the HTC One Max? I talked about this on Friday, so you must know what is going on. 2, how many months is Morning at NTV making? Question number 3, give any topics discussed during the big story last week. And 4, where is the HTC Hub located in Uganda? Send your name and the correct answers to 6565 and you could be a winner. This week we're giving out 3 phones courtesy of HTC Quietly Brilliant. Now every day we eat something, we drink something, we use our mouth for something, and the president alluding to the fact that the mouth is only used to talk. But what is happening as far as your teeth are concerned? Today we're going to look at tooth decay, especially in children, how it is caused, and how you as a parent can help prevent that. Coming up on Everyday Life. Before we delve into that, take a look at the profile of my guest today.
Every idea we have begins with you. The way you connect, how you browse, how you share, and how you interact with the world around you. Down to the last detail, you inspire everything. Because in the end, innovation doesn't really matter unless it does something that really matters to you. And we are HTC.
Everyday Life is brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
All right, thank you so much. That is 21 after 8 o'clock. Dr. Antwata, welcome to the show. I can see you're also a Rotarian. How long have you been in Rotary?
Oh, just about a year.
A year?
Yes.
What club?
Kampala Nakasero.
Kampala Nakasero. I should come and pay you a visit. You meet at Hotel Triangle?
That's right.
Right. I will come.
You'll be most welcome.
I'll come and pay you a visit. Dr. Antwatwa is a health practitioner specializing in dental care. And doctor, we've talked about tooth decay for a very, very long time. And I meet lots of friends who tell me, I have never gone to the dentist. In fact, one of my friends even joked about, I think I have my milk teeth. But before we get into the complicated part, what exactly is tooth decay?
Well, Brian, tooth decay is actually an infection. It's a bacterial infection. And bacteria enter inside the teeth as the infection proceeds, and they basically dissolve the teeth, making a hole in the tooth.
They dissolve the teeth.
That's right. Using acid.
They eat up.
They dissolve the tooth with acid. You see, a bacteria is like a car. You put fuel in, put your foot on the gas, and you have something coming out of the exhaust. So with the bacteria, they basically feed on sugar. Sugar is their best substrate. It contains a lot of energy.
Okay.
And out of the exhaust comes acid. And acid burns the teeth.
Wow.
By dissolving the enamel. So once the surface of the enamel is broken, then the bacteria can now enter inside the tooth.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it was tooth decay, but I once had a root canal.
Right.
And is that also tooth decay? What are the different types of the tooth decays?
Root canal is a type of treatment, and it usually is treatment to relieve pain, in most cases caused by tooth decay.
Okay.
So root canal is just a type of treatment. But basically, tooth decay is just an infection of the bacteria, and you can have it on any part of the tooth, and it can occur anywhere, anytime.
Right.
Yes.
What are the different types? I know, do they have names? Do you know that at this point I think I have this particular type of tooth decay?
Well, I think the dentist tends to name the type of lesion according to its position on the tooth. But that's technical language.
You make it simple, because some of us have been suffering for a very long time and just think, it's just shaking. That's all.
You can have tooth decay on the biting surface of the tooth, and you can have tooth decay on the outside surface of the tooth. Tooth decay can occur in different degrees. You can have a very tiny lesion, which can hardly be seen, and sometimes it can't be seen. Or you can have gross decay, where the teeth are very badly infected.
There's a guy that was featured on the story that you did. I didn't even look at the guy's. Every time I looked at him, it was so bad. And I don't know, let's get some pictures of those tooth decays on screen. And if you have a very weak heart, please, don't bother looking. But he almost had nothing. And he was saying that every time he eats something, he feels something cracking, and he thinks it's the food, but then
a piece of the tooth comes out.
A piece of the tooth comes out.
That's right. Well, Brian, when the bacteria infects the teeth and dissolves the inside of the tooth, it tends to undermine the top surface, which is the enamel. So you have enamel at the top, and then you have dentine as your second layer. So it enters the enamel, enters into the dentine, and then undermines. In other words, you have a big hole when the entrance is still small. And then the size of the cavity enlarges so big that the outside of the tooth is very, very thin. It's like an eggshell, and can easily crack under normal use.
That was very scary. When he was saying that, I was thinking, what, every day your teeth?
Well, they become weak. They become weak and they break.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's focus on children. And I was very surprised that even children get tooth decays.
Oh, yes, certainly.
Yeah. In your work, what have you found out that causes tooth decays in children?
Well, tooth decay in children is the same cause as the adult. Basically, you have three items that need to interact with each other. You have the tooth, you have the bacteria, and then you have the sugary substrate, which usually is derived from carbohydrate that we get from our diet.
Right.
So those three things must come into contact and interact with each other for you to have tooth decay. The bacteria feed on the carbohydrates, and the byproduct is acid. The acid interacts with the tooth, you end up getting the tooth surface dissolved, and you end up getting a cavity.
Right.
And so caused by tooth decay.
What are those things that we eat that attract the bacteria?
Sugar. Sugar is the best substrate to cause decay. And many of us know that sugar can be obtained from all those packets that are very shiny in the shops. You have sweets, toffees, chocolates, all those items. But you also have processed sugar in food as well.
Because I love chocolate. Now you're making me live, especially white chocolate. Now you're making me live chocolate. And now you've talked about processed sugar.
Yes.
What foods have processed sugar?
Well, most foods that are processed and tinned have sugar because the manufacturers actually tend to add sugar for taste. A lot of foods which are mixed and are spicy, they actually contain sugar when you look at the tin. Things like jam, baked beans, a lot of them will have sugar in them.
I stopped eating baked beans. Yeah, because they were...
Tinned fruits. Tinned fruits will also have sugar added to them, especially in the syrup. Yeah.
For particularly for children, I read that they are feeding bottles.
The children and adults behave differently, or the adults make the children behave differently. You are now drinking your tea in an open cup.
Yeah.
But frequently, the parent will give the child the same drink in a cup which has a lid and very, very tiny holes. And that restricts the drink from actually coming out of the cup into the child's mouth. So the child actually takes a longer time to drink what is required to drink.
Yeah.
Instead of drinking something in 5 minutes, he can take a whole hour. So the teeth are exposed to the sugary substrate for a much longer period of time. And that's how children behave differently.
Oh.
Yes.
What? So the longer the exposure, the more time the bacteria get to enter the mouth?
Well, let's see what happens when you drink. If we go to a laboratory where we can test for acidity, and you haven't drunk anything, your saliva pH may be around neutral. So as soon as you take some drink like that which contains sugar, I expect you put a couple of spoons in your coffee this morning.
I only take two small.
Two small spoons.
Yes.
That's quite adequate. That's quite adequate.
And I thought I don't take it.
As soon as you drink it, and you can do an experiment with a chemistry, your old chemistry teacher, and you spit in a spittoon, and he takes the pH of your saliva. You will find that the pH actually drops, or the acidity increases. And it takes 20 minutes for the saliva to wash away the acidity, for it to become neutral again.
Every time I drink?
Every time you take a sip. The acidity drops. The acidity increases.
And
in your
it takes
mouth.
20 minutes to get back
to get back to normal.
Wow.
So if you take a whole hour to drink your cup of tea, you are exposing your teeth to acid for a whole hour.
And it's going to take the same amount of time to go back to the...
After you finish your tea, yes. So if you have 10 sweets and you eat them all at the same time, all in one go, and you take 2 minutes to eat 10 sweets, you then will have exposure of your teeth for 22 minutes. The 2 minutes you took to eat and the 20 minutes it takes for all the acid to be washed away.
Wow.
Now, if you ate one sweet every 20 minutes, before the acidity comes back to normal, you're putting another sweet in your mouth. You have to wait another 20 minutes. Before
Your
the
mouth
acidity
is always acidic.
Exactly. Your teeth will just dissolve and you end up getting tooth decay.
That's very scary. I'm no longer having sweets, that's one thing for sure.
If you have to have them all in one go, and then immediately go and brush your teeth. You can't prevent everybody from having sweets, but at least it's how you do it that makes the difference.
Right.
But if you're having sweets all the time, then you're exposing your teeth to acid for a lot longer.
I have an 8-month-old son, and you know, obviously we have to use bottles. how do you manage doing that? Are there alternatives ways of feeding them?
The manufacturers use those bottles to prevent the child from spilling the contents onto their clothes and onto your clothes. And so it's easy to use the bottle. It's also easy to use the cup with the lid. It also prevents the liquid from pouring onto the clothes. However, it also restricts the liquid from coming out of the bottle or the cup into the mouth.
Yes.
So one is it's a give and take, and it's a two-edged sword. You have a benefit on one end, but then you have a disadvantage on the other end, and the disadvantage can be quite costly, because your 8-month-old child may end up having all 20 teeth destroyed if they're using a bottle, and it's even worse at night.
Right. Well, I've looked at his teeth. So far, they are still white, which is good. But what then do you recommend for parents to do for their kids? Because I've also seen some kids. You know, the kid is one, but a few of the teeth are already.
Well, first of all, you said that you noticed that your child's teeth are white. That is good. I believe every parent should be the first dentist, so that the parent should examine the child's teeth on a regular basis to make sure that they actually know what's going on inside the child's mouth. That's the first thing. Then the parent should be active in making sure that the child's teeth are very clean. The child does not have the dexterity to clean their own teeth adequately.
Yes.
Until around the age of 7. So actually the parent should be brushing the child's teeth up to the age of around 7. And if the child also wants to be active, yes, they should also be given a chance to do the job, so that they can learn at an early age how it's done. And then the child and the parent do the job together. But the parent must be the first person who should be active in making sure that the oral hygiene of the child is impeccable.
For babies, how do you clean their teeth?
Well, first of all, the teeth come in at around the age of, well, between 6 and 9 months. And I think one should use a cotton bud or some tissue to clean the teeth. And as time goes on, more teeth appear. And you have very, very tiny junior toothbrushes, which have got very soft bristles.
Right.
Then I think the parent should start with those.
Right. Issa Simon Chigongo on our Facebook page says mothers no longer breastfeed and the kids have not gained enough from the breast milk nutrients. The rubbers they suck or get bacteria contamination, which stop the growing teeth in children. Is this true?
Well, it's the mothers should actually breastfeed. Breastfeeding is a natural process. Every mother who produces a child at the same time produces milk in their breasts. Actually, it happens to all mammals. As long as a mammal gives birth, at the same time milk is produced in the breast.
Right.
And the function of that is to provide nutrients for the baby.
Right. Someone is here talking about bad breath. What causes it?
Bad breath. Well, there are a number of causes. Let us consider when you breathe, air comes from deep in the lungs, passes through the bronchioles, the larynx, the pharynx, the nose, the mouth, and comes out.
Yes.
So, Brian, if you have an infection or a serious illness along the path through which the air passes, then you are likely to have bad breath. So, lung infection, bacteria, tuberculosis, pneumonia. Someone who has TB will be coughing and they'll have bad breath because the lungs will be infected with bacteria. So when you have bacteria infecting the body, you're basically having a fight between the soldiers of the body and the bacteria.
What happens, doctor, to people who even after brushing their teeth, just after brushing their teeth, and they are healthy, they are normal, things are still out of control?
How do you know they're healthy and normal?
Okay, well, you look at them and they seem to be fine.
Yes, but usually that isn't enough. No, it usually isn't enough. Someone may be unhealthy when they actually look healthy. Having said that, you can have all these infections, pharyngitis, bronchitis, sinusitis, and then when you enter the mouth, actually a lot of bad breath comes from within the mouth. Having a large carious cavity, in other words, a big hole in the tooth. The toothbrush cannot reach everywhere inside the tooth to clean it. So it's like a dustbin that never gets emptied. It has to end up smelling, however well you brush your teeth. Sometimes people have gum disease, and there is pus coming from between the gum and the teeth. So however well you brush, you keep getting pus coming. See, pus is the product of the fight between the cells of the body and the bacteria. And when they fight, you have casualties on both sides. And also damage to the surrounding area. And all that together, the dead cells, they are the ones that make up the pus. And pus smells. So it's basically dead tissues.
Right.
Yeah.
In the closing moments of this segment, you'll also tell us, one, how to brush right, but also what people should do, especially those that have never visited. What is the recommended amount of time you should have to visit your dentist? I go once in a while, but I wait for only when something is wrong, and I know that is definitely wrong. If you're just joining us, I'm with Dr. Ntwatwa Lule, who's a dentist, and we're looking at the causes of tooth decay. Definitely science things going on here, but ultimately the health of your child is important. The health of your mouth also has to be important. Doctor, a question here: what do I do if my child can't sleep without a bottle in their mouth? I know some kids will fall asleep when, I think they call it sleep feeding.
Well, what you will end up doing is paying heavily for it. First of all, the child will suffer a lot of pain, and you'll have to end up getting a high dental bill. You see, if a child uses a bottle at night and you give them the bottle so that you can sleep, then that salivary flow we talked about earlier, it doesn't occur when someone is asleep. If it did occur, because when you're asleep, you basically stop swallowing. And so it would accumulate and drool out of your mouth. But God made the body in such a way that that doesn't happen. When you fall asleep, the saliva stops flowing. So if you find that you have just taken something and then you fall asleep before 20 minutes, then you find that the acid will still be in the mouth. And it will remain there until morning because the salivary flow has stopped.
Has stopped, yes.
So you're not going to get the acidity taken away from the mouth. All the teeth will get destroyed. In fact, if I had my way, I would actually ban that cup with a lid. You know, the cup with a lid with 4 little holes.
Yes.
That shouldn't actually exist. It's you pay more heavily with the child suffering.
How do you feed them then?
With an open cup.
And maybe put a bib around?
Yes.
So that they don't.
And after you feed the child, clean the teeth. Get the teeth clean. They'll last much longer.
Right. Before we close, brushing right. Because some of us, you're quickly just going through everything. Then when you smell, okay, I'm good. Then you're out. How do you brush right?
Well, first of all, brushing is a habit. So you always start in the same place, go through the same motions, and end up in the same place. So every morning, you're actually on autopilot. Supposing, Brian, there's an area that you miss out. It means that area hasn't been brushed since January the 1st, 2014, or 2013.
Yeah.
You see now
it's
where
been
I'm
like
going.
that. Wow, that's now scary.
But you brush every day.
But you always miss the back.
Exactly. So it never gets brushed.
Right.
So I think what's important is to have a systematic method of brushing. In other words, make sure you brush all the teeth. Go around from one end, come around to the other end. And don't brush the outside only. Do the same on the inside. Start from one end and go around to the other end. And when you brush gently. Don't be harsh. The tissues around the mouth are actually very delicate.
Right.
And if you overbrush, you will damage them. The gums will be affected and the gums will recede. When the gums recede, you will end up overbrushing the teeth and digging a groove in your tooth. So one needs to be brushing gently and thoroughly and making sure that you brush all the areas. Try to use a toothbrush which is soft or medium. But if it's new, a medium one is usually a little hard.
Right.
So you need to brush carefully when the medium toothbrush is actually new. And then
I'm also told you have to change the toothbrush, I think every 3 months. Is that?
If you do, then you'll be brushing with a hard brush for quite a long time.
Right.
A toothbrush can be kept for longer than 3 months. If your toothbrush turns into a bunch of flowers within 3 months, then I think you're overbrushing.
You're aggressively brushing.
Absolutely.
Right.
And you'll end up getting sensitive teeth after the gums recede.
Right.
So one needs to actually brush very carefully and very gently.
Right.
And brush all the areas equally.
Well, I guess, Dr. Antwata, we should follow up with maybe a surgery one of these days when you're doing your thing. Because also there's a question of people that spit blood when every time they brush. We need to talk about such issues.
Yes,
but
that's another disease altogether.
That's another disease altogether.
Absolutely.
I think recently I also, and I was a bit scared, maybe I overtalk, I don't know. But I had like little cracks in the joints of my jaw, so I don't know what was wrong. They did there's an X-ray of the tooth, I think that's what they did, and they failed to find something because somehow everything was normal. We'll get into that another day.
Sure.
But the mouth is also very complicated, so we are going to follow up on this and answer those questions. Malinga Cosma saying, when I eat peanuts I get pain in my molar tooth with time, even after brushing well, and it has stopped me from eating peanut paste or grains. Wow. I'm sure the doctor will be glad to answer those questions. We'll definitely follow up on one of the things that you are expected to keep your teeth as healthy as possible. Dr. Antwata, thank you so much for coming.
It's been a pleasure.
And I'll pay you a visit. I'll pay you a visit and you do something. I don't know if I'll broadcast it live on TV, but
that would be fun, wouldn't it?
People will see what is inside here, and it would be nice. But thank you so much for joining us. Send your questions on our Facebook page or Morning at NTV on Twitter, and an SMS to 6565. Dr. Antwata will be glad to answer those questions and more. Standing by is Isma with the sports. Good morning, Isma.
Good morning. Before the final whistle is blown on Morning at NTV, we'll talk about Zambia against the Uganda Cranes. We'll also discuss why Brazil is not getting the stadiums ready for the World Cup and a lot of friendlies across Europe and the world today. So there's no reason why you should walk away because the final whistle is coming up on Morning at NTV.
Well, it's 15 minutes on to 9 o'clock. We'll be right back with the sports update. Good morning.
Everyday Life was brought to you by...
And we are HTC.
Aro, Give me 5 stress, 3 gonorrhea.
Kale muli wano you think you've brought capacas. Omwana yenna asobola ogamba super deep. Si myaka gyaffe.
I'm like, I like my swag too. So what about it? Then she was like, I also like your accent. That village accent. Now.
Okay, why didn't sign for? When you got political Tayaka, no Mozanga Nakajawa.
Katina Kambuza, why are you crying?
I think I'm Big Mitch. Larry Hoover. Put that in Kiprotich's accent.
I think I'm Big Mitch. Rare Hoover.
On the next episode of Destiny River.
Invited to your wedding by your fiancé.
Victor told you.
Was it a secret? My goodness, I'm really clumsy.
You're asking an honest woman to find a husband. Never. Never, you hear me?
I don't know what kind of scheme you're running here, but I'm gonna find out before you take over my grandma's land.
You're very ungrateful, aren't you, you fool? My dad is being reasonable with you, and that's how
Your
you
dad
repay
is taking
him?
away my grandma's land even before her body starts to decay.
Destiny River.
What's that?
That document.
Oh, that. Just some business.
I came to apologize. I have no right to interfere in your lives.
I've eliminated the only evidence that links me to Ivan Chinawa's death.
But you didn't have to kill another person.
It's not like I've got anything to hide, Nene. Just go ahead.
Victoria, how is it like to work for Miles Filagazi?
Blood seemed to matter not. Blood? Yeah, blood.
I'm responsible for your father's death.
You have to know your stock. You have to know your capital.
So in terms of value, I had to attach value to what I do.
1 year I was working in Tanzania. I was saving some good money. I wasn't extravagant. I actually, as far as I recall, I went to hang out only once when I was leaving the country.
We started as an events management organization, specializing in video production, offering music and public address system to various clients. And now it has expanded into outdoor advertisement.
I've traveled to different African countries, but I think the spirit of entrepreneurship in Uganda is much more stronger than I've seen it anywhere else in the world.
A lot of the time, business owners and management, they rest on their laurels and they don't continually try and innovate.
I can make up to $1 million if I'm to do things consistently.
A very good morning to you, coming to you live from the Kampala Serena Hotel. And my name is Brian, and in the couple of minutes back, we were looking at dental care. What causes tooth decay and what you can do at home to make sure that your teeth are fine and healthy. And now, on to sports. Isma Daka Bachigongo. What's with the brown, very brown suit?
Good morning, first of all. And so there is a bit of Kobe Bryant in this. There's a bit of Kobe Bryant.
This is, man, it's too much. A very white shirt too.
Yeah.
Dude.
A very white. What's the difference in white? I see white stripes in your shirt. What's the difference? Wow.
There's an off-white.
Yeah. You know when you say that, you remind me of the difference in colors that women have. Hot pink, baby pink, yellow
magenta,
pink, black pink, and I think it's only pink. It can't be baby pink or it's the color is just pink.
Well, Isma, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning, Babo. Usually they have very nice shoes. Another pair that is awesome. Yes, if you can get, it's called a stiletto.
Gives me some inches.
Okay, okay. Yesterday she had a killer shoe on. So. I promise that I'll talk about her shoes every time they're nice. All right, on to sport. Golf this morning, the process, the national team for the Zone 6 championships got underway yesterday. Who is in and what would the coach be looking out for?
There are 12 players fighting for 5 slots, the golfers there for the Zone 6 Championship and also the East Africa Nations Championship, which has become part of the calendar for the amateur golfers. Sadly for them, their coach is not around. Dewa Kope, because he's playing in the Kenya Open this weekend, so he's in Nairobi preparing for that. That gets underway tomorrow. And some of the players probably who would be wanting to see in this team, including Philip Kasozi, who is the national amateur captain. He's also in Nairobi playing in the amateur version of the Kenya Open. But all the other guys are here playing. Peter Sendaula, Adolf Muhomuza. But at the end of day one, it was Robert Bukenya who was rolling at Chitante after 18 holes, and today they've moved on to NTV, and today is going to be a grueling one because they have to play 36 holes. And most of the time I've seen is that the coach does not look at who only posts the best score. Many times they've also looked out for the players who can play well together. So the pairing is also very important. You may be one who doesn't have the consistency to go and post the good score for the 2-3 days that they are playing these qualifiers. But if you have a good pairing, you would actually finish 10th in terms of individual scores, but you have a very good pairing with the number 1 player. Yet they are choosing 5, so you could actually sneak in something like that. So I'm hoping that by the time Dewa Kope comes back and whoever is left in charge of this team gives him the kind of feedback that these are the best 5 players we could take to the Zone 6 Championship. Because over the past few years when Uganda became recognized as playing at the Zone 6 Championships, Uganda has done well, not at the level of probably being able to beat South Africa and Zimbabwe, which are the strongest sides in Africa when they come to national team golf. But they finished ahead of Kenya before, which Kenya is one of the stronger ones. Then there is a bit of Botswana there. There is a lot of Namibia. There is a lot of Rwanda, most of these sub-Saharan African countries. And this kind of exposure for me has helped many of these players develop and improve as players. So I'm hoping that by the time the weekend is done, probably by Monday, we should be able to know those 5, and I'll tell you what I think they could do and can't do when they go to the Zone 6 Championships later this year.
Now, of course, you can look at the day 1 leaderboard over there with Bukenya, Muhumuza, Oluba, Msinguzi, Rugumayo, Chitata, Mwanja, Byaruhanga, Baguma, and of course, R. Baguma. They're doing quite very well. It's very competitive, actually. So we'll wait and see who the top 5 will be.
Today we are playing a friendly against Zambia, Nambole. What are your expectations?
Did you say Nambole? You always want the game to be home. You always want so many
sorry,
home.
it's in Zambia. It's in Zambia. Sorry.
that must have skipped your mind.
It did. But we were talking earlier of when we were coming up, and I said you can even walk from your home to where you get it. And you said you'd be watching it online.
Why are you saying I live in where you get it? What if someone thought I live in Kololo?
Sorry.
A very important friendly, I think, for Mitchell. Milton Sredejovic there, the coach, because I won't get another chance to test this team. And the next time the team walks out on the pitch, they'll be playing in 2015 Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, which is next month, and that's a preliminary round. So he won't get another chance to look at these players. And sadly for him, he hasn't had the entire team travel to Zambia for different reasons, which we discussed yesterday. Tony Maweje, Henry Kalunji can't get their connections here. So it's the same with Chizito Lwaganda, Alex Kakuba, and several work permit for Tony Maweje that is being worked on in Norway. So he can only use the resources that he has around. Now for me, is that he has one of the things he needs to sort out is who is he going to choose at right back. Because since the retirement of Simeon Masaba from the national team, which was even never announced, Dennis Guma has played there and Nicholas Wadada, both different players. Guma, sorry, defensively, Wadada very good going forward. He hasn't really settled for either of them ever since he came in. Now that's one position. 2 is that in the next game when the qualifiers start, Godfrey will be suspended. So Isaac Muleme gets a look in, because Joseph Ocha, who has been the underside of Walusim, is also out injured with his team Asante Kotoko in Ghana. So what happens at that position for Isaac Muleme? Probably in the middle, there could be someone could stake a claim being the other partner of Tony Maweje, because I think when Maweje comes back in the team, he'll definitely be selected. Now, who plays with Maweje there? This is an opportunity for Boban Zirintosa. Ever since he played here and left and went to start playing in Zimbabwe, where he plays currently. He hasn't been selected so often for the national team. In the last qualification campaign, only played in one game. So probably it's also an opportunity for him, Boban Zirintosa, to stake a claim in the midfield, where I think Khalid Aucho will be the other player who will be chosen for Mitchell going forward. And then I look at the front line with Geoffrey Massa out because he's not in this team. Emmanuel Okia has taken a claim as the player, the one striker who all the other guys are built upon, all the other guys who come into the team. I think Amis Kiza should take this place alongside Okwi. And what I expect, I think, is that Cranes will want not to lose because they've not done so well playing in Zambia, even in the more important games in the Sekafa, in the Africa Cup of Nations
Zambia winning here at home.
Yeah, Zambia or winning in the penalty shootout because Uganda won the game by a goal through Geoffrey Massa. Then Uganda win the penalty shootout. So I think Mitch has got to go there and try not to lose the game because that will be enormous confidence for the side, even if they not gather until next month. So they can carry that kind of positive mindset from this game into the qualifiers.
Right. It's 99 days, ladies and gentlemen, to the biggest tournament of, football. That is the World Cup. 99 days to Brazil 2014, and Carlos Puyol making a shocker announcement. I think Ryan Giggs should copy this. That he's retiring.
Why should he retire?
Did you say well? He's still playing.
He scored a goal, I think, last year.
Please. He's old. Maybe this is one of the people that Mourinho was talking about. But he's retiring in June.
Yeah.
How do you rate him? And slowly comment about the World Cup also. Quickly tell us about the World Cup. But let's first look at Puyol.
I think Carlos Puyol, a player who came from the La Masia, the famous academy of Barcelona, he does not represent so many of the things that Barcelona players do. The ball-playing players, the ones, the Iniestas, the Busquets, the generation we've enjoyed watching, the Xavi Hernandez. But while he's so different, he looks every bit as a mechanic, like we'll have to call them in football. But the kind of return and influence he's had on this Barcelona team at the time when he was at the peak of his powers, he's got to rank amongst the best defenders that Barcelona has had, probably not in the world. And for me, having watched him from the time he first came into the team back in 1999 as a right back, then eventually moved to playing as a centre back, eventually moved back to right back, back in the 2009 Champions League final against Manchester United, is that for everything you can have against him, he's always given 110%. Carlos Puyol, he'll throw his body on the line for the team, and the kind of success, probably his talent may not be way at the top in terms. It's not easy on the eye to watch. It's a bit of watching porridge coming out of a cup. It's different from watching porridge and watching juice. You can see, what's it called? There's something about physics that the ease with which things flow. Now, Carlos Puyol is not that kind of player. But when he does walk away in June, I think Barcelona will know they've lost one of the biggest influence on the team over the past 10 years or the 15 years, and also one of the greatest leaders, one of their greatest defenders. If you look at the amount of trophies he's won with Barcelona, and also winning the World Cup with Spain, the Euro with Spain, these are the kind of players who changed the way Spain think, because for several years Spain had the players but never won anything until this generation of the Carlos Puyols that changed the history. So for me, when I look at Carlos Puyol walking away, part of me is sad because I don't want players to ever walk away. They're supposed to. You want to push Ryan Giggs out of the game. I don't want Javier Zanetti to ever retire at Inter Milan, but at some point he'll walk away. But probably for me, Carlos Puyol retired about 2-3 years ago because he spent the past 2 years out injured. Has barely played. Has played, I think, only 18 games for Barcelona this season. I think the end was always near for him. The end was always nigh.
Okay, Brian alluded to the fact that we're about 99 days to World Cup and Brazil is still not ready. Obviously, FIFA are very scared. What do you think?
First of all, one of the calls I've heard from some radical countries in Europe is that the World Cup should be moved from Brazil, which FIFA won't do.
Isn't it too late for that?
Even with South Africa, it was the same.
England can host that.
England would host that. Spain would, because their stadium's always there. Now, FIFA cannot do something like that. They will do everything to get Brazil ready. Now, the problem is that Brazil were supposed to hand over the World Cup stadiums to FIFA in December. And now we are in March, and there's still construction ongoing. When I see some of the television images, and I was seeing the FIFA Secretary General, Jerome Valcke, yesterday talk about how they are having to fit into things into stadiums with the cement still wet. And people who construct will tell you they'll wait for the cement to dry. That's why I see some of the buildings in Kampala, people spend the entire night drying the cement with heaters and everything. Now, Brazil are having to do everything on a crash program. But this reminds me, when FIFA choosing these World Cup hosts, they go through all kinds of things. First of all, they say they send out a technical committee that checks out the readiness of those countries. Now, how do they choose Brazil if a technical report puts
some... They don't even have stadiums.
If the stadiums are there, but most of them have undergone reconstruction. Yeah, but they have given about 8 years to finish the work, and they haven't. Now there's a problem for FIFA, there's a problem for Brazil. Luckily for me is that Brazil will still host the World Cup, regardless of what Europe thinks, regardless of what the England FA think, who are the biggest critics of FIFA. Yeah. Whatever they think, Brazil will host the World Cup. Whether it will start with those stadiums ready, I'm starting to have a fear. There's a stadium, I think, in a city called Curitiba, where even the provincial governor says they can't finish it in time. Reason? The inflation. By the time they did the budgeting, if you say we are going to construct the stadium for $214 million, then the stadium costs are shot up to about 320.
Who meets the budget? Who meets the budget of
it's shared between FIFA and the host country. Yeah, and the host country.
Wow. Okay. Unfortunately, we're running out of time, but you can catch more details of this on Omumuli at 1:30 p.m. and Sports Bar 10:30 p.m. at the World Cup. And there are over 80 international friendlies this weekend. And this week, South Africa against Brazil, Romania against Argentina, Belgium against Ivory Coast, Germany against Chile, that is going to be a big one, England and Denmark, a big one too, France and the Netherlands, very big, Portugal and Cameroon, that would be interesting.
Yeah, seeing the big Cameroonians go up against Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah. I think for me it would be a photo op more than the game. But and of course Spain versus the Azuris as Italy. And we'll be talking more sports tomorrow. But also remember 1:30 p.m. We'll be on Mumuli with Isma, Lumansi and Alan. For now, your African proverb coming up. There's always a winner even in a monkey's beauty contest. Is this Ruyonga that comes up with these African proverbs?
It's wow. Omulungi tabula ko kamogo or something like something. Maybe how much Uganda do you know?
No, I've understood that, but I'm just wondering, when you get monkeys, I guess there's beauty everywhere. I mean, yeah.
There's got to be. Whatever comparison you
Yeah. Yeah, that even in I guess among the ugly ones, there's always a beautiful one.
Exactly.
There's always a beautiful one. Well, that's all we had for you today on the show. And it's pretty hectic. And I hope that we have kind of jump-started your day. Today is Wednesday, the 5th of March, 2014. And as usual, we say, hasta la vista, baby.